Stu One International Networks LLC presents Uncle Stu, the old man on the block.
What the kosher clinician said was, a hopeless man is a broken man. A hopeless man is a broken man. This is a very deep and passionate statement, a deep and passionate claim. But this claim is very personal to me. Let's talk about it. I was once this man. I was once a man who had to sit here and reflect back on my life, and while I've had many successes, I've had many failures. While I've created great paths for many people, I've also left a trail of destruction. But I'm going to tell you that sometimes we need help, my brothers, just like I needed help. And a lot of times we're crying out for help, but we really don't know where to get that help from.
And you know, there comes a time when a man must take a stand against the immoral acts of other men, regardless of the consequences he may have to face.
Phone. Welcome to Emancipated Studio. Welcome my uncle, Uncle Stu, the old man on the block.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. If y'all can hear me, give me a 1 in the chat. And give me a 2 if you like that new intro. Good evening, K Business Podcast. Welcome. She Stole My Thunder. Welcome. And of course, Vaughn. Welcome, Mr. Vaughn. Brown Eyes in the house. And yes, we're going to have an awesome evening. And I just want to start off by saying, blind guy, his wife, their life is in the house. Big Bad Bull is in the house. Just real quickly, just to get it out the way, we want to thank each and every single one of y'all for your prayers, for your words of concern, and for everything that y'all have done. We've heard from so many different content creators, and we just want to say thank you. But we're not going to have a sad day because we are going to still celebrate. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. So without further ado, I'm going to let y'all know when the White House is down and they don't know what to do with their computers, they call this man. When everything and the lights went out in New York City, they called this man. And when everything went down in China, they called this man. And even when they tried to figure out how to build the electronic network in the United States infrastructure, when they passed the bill, they called this man. I want everybody in the chat to give it up for the one and only John.
I don't know who this guy is he's talking about, but man, if I can fill that guy's shoes. So let's get one thing straight.
Okay.
I'm the one waving right here. That's me, John, Coffee Talking Tech.
Right.
In case
I
you get
want
us.
everybody to understand we're twin brothers, just from another mother. That's all. We does everybody got? I know we both wear the same glasses. We got the beard. His is just a little bit longer, y'all. I cut mine so y'all can at least tell the difference. At least, Brown Eyes in the chat is also a twin. So,
Oh, love it.
Got that twin thing going on,
Just like you and I.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bam. How's everybody doing out there?
Hey, how y'all doing? If y'all doing good, give John a big one in the chat for me. Community Solutions Pro, welcome. Danielle Ryan.
That'd be my wife.
That is the one and only. I want everybody give some shout out to Miss Ryan. She had to let everybody know who is the real woman and the photographer in the house. I saw it. So yes, Miss Ryan. Appreciate you coming by.
Sorry, Miss Ryan. Ooh.
You got to remember, John, you're going to have to go back to the bedroom with her. You might be sleeping in the studio tonight. I'm trying to help you out here, She came out and let you know who the 3-year photographer pro is.
You saw the video,
I saw the video.
Yep.
I saw the video.
That was her idea too. That was her idea.
Switch. I'll get the photographer up here, leave the tech down there, and then
That's it.
We got to see. I got to know if my camera is right. Because I got the professional lady in the chat, so I got to watch her.
True that. And even my mom stopped in here. Marlene Ryan is my mom. She stopped in.
Everybody give some love to Miss Marlene Ryan. How you doing, Miss Ryan? Welcome.
And also, I just want to say,
did y'all say hello to my mom? Say hello to my mom. Y'all say hello to my mom. If y'all don't give no love to my mom, I'm gonna be upset. If y'all want to give love to my mom, everybody just shout out to my mom, please. Just give the @ There you go. There we go.
And I just want to tell you that we're sending love from our family to your family. And I know it's been a rough week. And I just kind of got caught up with understanding what happened this week. And so we send our love too.
Amen. Thank you. We got Before the Billions in here.
Yo.
He gonna get you now. He gonna get all that tech stuff.
He's not doing too.
Out till like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, he don't do too shabby already. He's looking good, sounding good.
When he works on your project and he tells you $25 an hour, you might as well just give him the $25 times the 28. Because that's how long he's going to work on your project. I see how he's going to earn his billions. I tell you. Well, let's you and I, we met on Blind Guy, His Wife, Their Life. And then we met on another platform and where you and I had some real connections, I would say. And so, I want everybody to really understand you and I's connection besides being twins. We're both from the tri-state.
Yep.
And, but you have an interesting backstory that a lot of people probably wouldn't even know that's here today.
Yeah. And we're approximately the same age. I believe you're 1 year older. I think you're 52.
I'm 54. Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry.
Tell Brown
Sorry.
Eyes I'm young. I'm young, y'all. I'm young. No, I'm 54. I'm 54 years old. My
And
daughter is in the chat too, so that's part of
yo,
where that old man come from. So
yeah,
I'm
but I
always the
mean,
old man.
we're both got two guys about approximately the same age and
Right,
from the same region. So
right. I'm
yeah,
I'm New York and you're New Jersey.
Jersey. Yep.
Yeah.
And I grew up in New York, spending a lot of time in New York since I've been 8 years old, though.
Okay, cool. What part of New York City?
So my dad lived downtown Barry, Second Avenue at
Oh
first.
Lord.
When in the early 80s, when you would walk outside and there would be needles strung out on the streets.
Yes, you was down there with the biker crew.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they ran the city of some areas. You didn't touch
Yeah.
their stuff, but on top of that, yeah, that's when Curtis was walking around with his guardians back then too.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
And
can we be honest? Curtis was a little punk. He didn't go to all of the hood places.
no,
He went to selected areas and talked a good game.
oh yeah, I mean there that was going on in a lot of yeah, but I mean we would walk to like Washington Square Park, and
Okay.
we'd go to Bleecker Bob's record store with my dad, and then we would go over to St. Mark's Street area, get a slice of
Okay.
pizza or something, and then later on when I got a little older, he moved over to Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Okay.
And so that was before it is what it is now. And
Got
that's when you didn't leave your bicycle
you. Didn't
outside,
leave your bicycle outside. Yeah.
and to say the least. And then he moved over to Hoboken after that, when Hoboken was really just starting to rise out of the ashes. So,
Yeah.
which is the mid
Let
80s.
everybody know Trump didn't help with that one.
No. I mean, back then you were buying that real estate for nickels and dimes in comparison what
Exactly.
it's worth now.
Exactly. Exactly. So how did you grow up as a kid? I mean, outside once you moved to Jersey, how did you grow up?
So I grew up in Jersey, and I moved around a lot when we were younger because we would live with my grandparents, and then because my mom and my dad was approximately like 19 and my mom was 18 when they had me.
Okay.
And so we moved around a bit when I was younger, and it was tough on me, but I didn't ever get down about it.
Okay.
I just did what a kid does: is meet people, talk to them, and make it through to the next school year.
Gotcha.
And at that time, I was lucky enough to have, even though my dad had moved to the city when he was 8, and my dad was worked for Ford Motor Company for most of the 70s.
Okay.
And then he was working his efforts toward becoming a professional musician. And at the same time, my mom was opening up a health food store with my grandmother. So
Wow.
there was a lot going on in the family realm, and it was a struggle just because money was tough and people were trying to make things work, and it wasn't easy. So, but my dad eventually, by the time the early 80s hit, he was taken off with his music career, and he's been doing that ever since. So he'll be 71 next week, actually. And
Wow.
so he's had a lengthy career with everything. And in between, I landed in an area for a decent amount of time and went through middle school and high school, and barely made it out of high school. It was a struggle just to
Wow.
get through high school.
Why did you say what happened that you struggled through high school?
Well, I think it was being that my dad was traveling the world. We'd literally see him on TV. He would be on MTV on a video. He would be in a commercial. I could hear the music. He was pretty well to do with the music business. Not that he was saying he was making a ton of money, but
Right.
he was on Nickelodeon. He was on American Bandstand at that time. So, and those were big shows. He was always visible in the eyes. Meanwhile, my mom is working 2 to 3 jobs trying to support the family and keep us going. And
Wow.
it was really hard. And if it wasn't for my mom, my grandmother, and a couple uncles
Right.
supporting me in some sense. It could have gone whichever way, and it wouldn't have been good. But we kept it together, and I kind of almost felt like going to school was my getaway, like mentally from everything, and getting there, laughing, joking around. I was a jokester. I let myself get like B's for half of the year and then just fail out the rest of the year. And then literally my freshman year, I passed gym class. That's it. I'm not even kidding you.
So you
And
ready to do it like a 5 mile run, you know?
I mean, whatever gym was, I was good for it, right?
Okay.
Because I was athletically gifted, and that was another thing throughout high school that people thought I was wasting. So people would be upset with you. Why aren't you, going to go to a college? You could go to a college and get a full scholarship from even if it was a Division III. Who cares? And I was just afraid. I was afraid. I've never challenged myself. No one's ever said you can do this. No one's ever taken me to a sport and said go for this. And so I just was my own person growing up around people that were mediocre in life that had it hard too, and
Right.
just kept on forging forward.
How did how did you feel? You know, here your dad is doing all this famous stuff, but his son is struggling. I mean, how did that make you feel as a as
Well,
a young boy in high school?
I
I
think
hope your mom is still in the chat because I would love to talk to her.
well, the I would say that is probably still to this day some of the hardest things to get through in my
Mhm.
life, because being a dad myself, my son's 10 years old,
Right.
and knowing how much I love my son. And I know, though, the way I grew up, I am incapable of showing some emotions on some sides of things.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for my wife being what she is, which is an amazing mom, and helping me a bit, because what it comes down to is almost me becoming selfish. It almost looks like I'm being selfish, but if I don't take a certain amount of time for myself, I I don't function really well. Like I get overwhelmed easy with things, and
Okay.
if it's multiple things, it's even harder. But the thing that I'm gifted for is that whatever I'm interested in, okay, be it cryptocurrency, be it financial, be it tech, be it learning and anything to do with mechanics, I can be super hyper focused and learn it inside out in a short amount of time.
Where do you feel? Do you feel that being able to do that? Do you think I'm gonna use myself as an example? Um, I know for me, especially over these last 2 3 years, I am super focused, and until I achieve a certain level of success or manageability, it's been the only thing that has helped me therapeutically.
Yeah.
Like dealing with all of this equipment. It's like, okay, until I get this, I'm laser focused. I don't want to be bothered. I got to get this. And once I get it, it's like, okay, I've achieved. I'm okay. I can manage.
Yep.
But anxiety will hit when I can't manage all of
Yeah.
this stuff.
So what's crazy is the anxiety won't get to me because the hyper focused whatever goes on in my brain, where
Right.
it's basically my wife will tell you that I have gone sleepless nights with trying to do what I need to get done, and I'll make it happen. But it's it's a gift in some aspects, but it really can slay you because it causes an imbalance in my life, because you can't be hyper focused on things too long without
Right.
neglecting the other things around you.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So in that aspect, that's where I fall short, and it looks like being selfish, but I almost can't stop myself.
Have you ever gotten any therapy behind it? How do you feel about therapy?
So I'm not against it by any means,
Right.
but the situation that I come across a lot is people are never going to have answers for the way you feel. They'll tell you how you should feel, and they'll tell you that you have accomplishments in your life and you should pat yourself on the back. But it never really matters to that person until they feel that within. And like you said, there are certain things in each person's life that is tearing us apart maybe inside, or if you're feeling good inside, then you're achieving your goals.
Right.
But until you get to a certain point when you feel pretty adequate with some of the things you're doing, it becomes a struggle. But I did learn, being that my son's 10 years old, that no matter what, it doesn't mean it's all about you anymore. So you can't hold on to the things about you and what you need to achieve. Now it's like more important to pass that on and make sure he gets what he needs, and try to care about my wife and him in a family relationship, and can't be all about you.
Do you see, based on how you grew up and some of the things that you've struggled with, and still, as you said, struggle with now, do you see that there's other men on like you that's struggling, but they can't identify within themselves what might be going on? And sometimes that can be that crushing conversation that wives or women doesn't
So
relate to.
the crazy thing is when people meet me, they have this ball of energy that they feel from me, and this amazing vibe, right? Which everyone's told me since I've been a kid, that I can pretty much plow. I seem like the kind of guy that can plow through anything to get where I want to go.
Right.
Okay. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why I have that persona or what it may be, and I don't know if everybody feels this way, but ever since I was young, even though I had challenges, I always thought that I was meant for something better and bigger. I always thought that I could have been maybe an inspirational kind of speaker, and talk about different topics of how people are addicted to certain things or struggle in life and how you overcome,
Right.
because I really think that all of us have a story, and all of us have something that we've overcame and that's hold us back. So that's where I never got caught up in being like, oh, always me,
Right.
because there's people that are much worse,
Right.
and there's people that have it so much greater. So at some point you just got to do what's best for you. But it doesn't mean that those things that you grew up, missing, don't hurt you, because they'll always will hurt you, because you can't get answers to everything, because you can only see where people come from, right? And so
Right.
you accept them for what they are and what they can give, and then you can't judge after that.
That's powerful. What would you say? What would you say your spiritual life is like? Like, did you have a strong church or religious background, or was you more philosophical in your thinking?
I think there's a somewhat strong religious background. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I haven't read the whole Bible from
Right.
cover to cover. And being that doesn't mean that I'm intelligent. That doesn't mean that I understand everything that's there. But it just means that I have a love for trying to be a godly person and treat people on an equal level. I think kind of before we had gotten on here, I expressed to you that I grew up in a family that was never judgmental to any color, race, creed. There was never even a joke at the table about this Italian went here, or this, this Jewish guy went here. It never came up, and I never felt that way about anybody. So I learned from a young age is always accept everybody,
Right.
and judge them the way they treat you, but don't mistake my kindness for weakness in any way. I'll tell you that right now.
Well,
So
see, blind guy thought that you was Barry White, because all he knows is the voice. So he told everybody. He said, "Oh, Barry White is going to be on our show." So everybody ran to Blind Guys White their life, because he thought Barry White was there.
if I could sing like Corey, maybe. Oh, but yeah, and their little joke over at his channel is that I'm Coffee Talk and Twerk, because I did make a comment that I was loving life and dancing when I was growing up. So I would go to the city, I would go anywhere to go dancing late into the night. And what's funny is I've never been a drinker, so I rarely ever drink. So I just go and I would go for the fun. I'm pretty much I was pretty much that kind of guy that where I would be the life of the party, because I love making people laugh and smiling and having a great time with people.
Okay, now was you at Studio 54 or was you at Roxy skating? Which
So
one? Now, me and
so
you the
those
same
those
age.
were
So I'm thinking, okay, was John hanging out with Michael Jackson at Studio 54? Or was
no.
he over there at Roxy
I
skating?
wasn't old enough for that, so I missed that era by about 6 years.
Okay,
So
okay,
so
okay.
I was at the Underground.
I know the underground.
Okay, which became another big club after that, which is
Right.
was the biggest club in the city at that time. And then the Limelight was a place that I went to a lot when I was even underage. And so and then there was a place that I refused to go that I had to one time, and I don't know if anybody remembers this about New York City. There was this place called Emerald City. And it used to be where all the New Jersey people would go to New York and hang out with themselves in New York. And I'm like, why are you all hanging out with New Jersey people in New York? It made
But
no
you know
sense to
why,
me.
right?
I didn't know why.
The reason is because okay, you know how we're all divided by boroughs.
Yeah.
So if Jersey came into Manhattan, all of us from Manhattan wanted to fight the Jersey people. But then if you was with Manhattan and Brooklyn and Jersey people, it was like, okay, we're gonna get the Jersey people. Then Manhattan and Brooklyn will fight later. You know?
I, hey, I wasn't fighting anybody. I was just dancing on the dance floor. All you wanted to do is just hang out, have fun,
Yeah.
and enjoy the scene. And I love New York because New York, it just has that amazing energy in itself. So that was just fun growing up.
Do you speak to your dad at all now?
I do. I actually had a really good lunch with him actually about a week ago,
Okay.
and where we did touch upon some of these discussions which we've never actually addressed.
Right.
And I could see that it touched him in a certain way, and then my purpose was to let him know that I understood that he can only relate to so much, because of the way he grew up. And what I mean is, my mom and my dad, they didn't have it easy either. Okay. And since we're talking about my dad, I'll just say, like, his mom died when my dad was, I believe, like 10 or 11 years old from cancer.
Okay.
And then his father remarried, and it didn't really gel too well, and so my dad was pretty much out of the house at 15 years old. So you could see there's a lot of hardships here, and they
Right.
were trying to find their own way, and they were kids raising kids.
Right. Right. Is your mom still in the chat?
I don't know if she's still here or not, but
Is your wife still in the chat?
I know that she's not had it easy too growing up, and I just try to, we have our things that we talk about, and then but I know that she cares a lot. So
Oh no, I'm never going to dump on your dad. Um, Never, never, never. I
okay.
I like to hear Miss Ryan just to give both of them, that voice that we don't really get to hear historically. We hear all these today narratives, but we don't really get an opportunity to like, hey, how really was it in
It
that?
was hard as hell.
Yeah, I know. Um, let me, John, I got a Mac computer, so I'm learning how to operate this thing. So, I want everybody forgive me now. I'm just learning. All right. Um, Miss Ryan, I'm going to drop the link. This is only for the Ryan family. So no one else jump on the chat.
She's
This
not
is
jumping
for
in.
one of them. I'm hoping. All I can do is invite. You know,
Yeah.
I'm hoping my mom come up so I can give her a virtual hug. I just got to give my mom that virtual hug.
I think that It's not. It's we all understand where we're from. It's just that
Yeah.
I think that I've had a lot different than most of my family members. Whereas I've took a really deep, hard look at a lot of things that I was going through, and I think that I was lucky enough to get as far out as I was
Excuse
with
me 1 second.
yeah.
Danielle Ryan, you don't even have to cam up. So you just stay behind a meme, stay behind the big D, and you don't have to cam up. We love you. We love you. We love you. We love you over here. So you don't have to cam up. I understand.
Yeah, she's my rock, and my son is they're my happiness. But they mean the world to me. But see, the thing is, when I'm just saying I was lucky
Yeah.
because I had a lot of anger in me when I was a 275-pound 22-year-old that could slam dunk a basketball and bench press a freight train. And
Wow.
I basically I've had people cut me off in cars, and I've virtually ripped them out of their cars and punched their windows out with my fists. And lucky that I didn't go and hurt somebody and go to prison. So that happened 2 or 3 times, and I was really just angry, and I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know how to make myself better. I didn't know how to get to the place where I am now at this point. But it was a lot of luck and keeping myself busy, and I always had an incredible work ethic. So I always worked since a young age.
You know, that's the when you talk because if people see you now, they see you as the jovial.
No
And
clue.
here you're saying, "Hey, I was the Incredible Hulk ripping off doors." How did you get over anger issues? I mean, because a lot of
Well,
us really don't. You know what I'm saying? Unless we go get
yeah.
some real help.
So here's a pretty cool thing, right? In my high school, the underclassmen choose people to light candles their senior year at the prom.
Okay.
And the underclassmen chose me to light a candle, right? One of the worst students in the whole school. I probably finished exactly last in
Right.
my senior year, right? But they came to me, they chose me to light a candle because I was one person that brought everybody together, no matter if you were an athlete, a choir person, a smart person, a not popular person. I treated everybody the same. And that really touched me because I also noticed these things like, oh, people always said John was that kind of guy that just brought people together.
Right.
And I wasn't an angry person. It was just a few times in my life that it got to me, and I almost let it ruin my life. I'm talking about these are the things where people make these silly choices and they absolutely destroy their lives over this.
Right.
And I could have been that. And so I am blessed and thankful that I was able to get stability and start working, and at literally an age of about 30 years old, put down things on a piece of paper and said, this is what I want to be. Maybe an x-ray tech. Okay. Maybe I want to be an electrician. Maybe I want to be a nurse. And I was like, I put 3 or 4 things down, and I went and looked at them about what could I possibly want to do.
Right.
So I talked to my friend and I said, I'm thinking about going to the local union thing and getting a job with the union being an electrician. He's like, go look into that and go check out, because this is what I do. I do low voltage communications. And so fiber optics, Cat6 wiring, stuff like that. They'll pay for you to go to school, and then you get a job making 40 something dollars an hour, you know?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'll check this out. So I did it. My father-in-law, he helped me figure things out, connect with the people I needed to connect with, and get into the union hall. And I stayed there for 12 years, and I built myself up a good rep, and I was able to move myself out of there and get into a better job where I am now. So I work for a railroad doing communications and fiber optics and phone systems and stuff like that. So I am blessed that I had people behind me supporting me in different times in my life. They always weren't the same people.
Right.
But my God, if I didn't have them, I don't know where I would be. And so I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here today and
Right.
having you people support me and all these people I see in the chat, like Vaughn and Blind Guy and his wife and Tropical Homestead and Stole. I see all these people and, WME. I see all these people in all the chats, and I've personally talked to some of these people, and I just feel blessed to have the connections that I'm making in these YouTube streets, which has been amazing with you also,
Oh
so
yes, it's been. I mean, I've been honored. I've everybody's just been an awesome honor, and I just love this journey,
it's amazing.
and really just getting to know people.
Can
You
you show me what it says behind you on your shelf? Can you make it wide so I can open up, change the scene here, make your picture big, and over your
All right, so
right,
you're trying to test my tech skills, there, John.
show me over your right shoulder,
Over my right shoulder,
that sign at the top on the right. What does that say?
find the joy in the journey.
Find the joy in the journey.
Find the joy in the
Do
journey.
you know how hard that was for me to understand that? And so Jeff, the guy that I stream with a
Right.
lot, I met him after I was streaming for a while by myself, and we connected through a group of streamers. And I didn't know how to enjoy this journey being 50 years old yet. I was like, everything in my life is not enjoying the journey. It's just getting there and the rush of getting there and hopefully being satisfied with this or that, and I'm missing so much of the important things along the way. It's like slow down and see what's going on around you. I'm even missing the potential support of people that are around me because I'm moving so fast.
Beautiful. I got a special guest.
What do we got? Oh, wow. I'm going to tell you right now, and this is no joke, I would have never thought in a million years she would get up here. Wow.
She said she's coming up here to teach me about cameras. See, we always run into you, John. We thought you had all the knowledge. See?
She's on her new laptop that I got her just recently.
All right.
Wow. I'm so surprised you're here. All right. I got to go.
Well, I do have a tech question.
Okay.
Oh, geez. Talk.
Well, I have a tech question because I'm having trouble with my audio.
Oh, you are?
Uh-huh.
You have to choose your audio, and you probably don't know which one it is. But if you just go into your audio, it's probably going to be your real tech, maybe.
Is this better?
I hear you. We hear you. It's just a matter of you hear us. This is what I planned, so we can get rid of her. Oh, she heard that?
John, I can't do that. I might
I'm
need
leaving.
the camera. I gotta go to her for the camera, John.
Danielle, as long as you hear us, that's fine.
She's the camera woman.
I hear multiple people. I hear you a couple times.
Oh, it's because you have to mute the stream you're watching in YouTube. The one you're watching has to be muted, and then you just have to concentrate on being where we are in here, and then you won't hear double anymore. Do you ever have that happen, Stu? When the first time I ever used StreamYard,
and then everybody yells at you and say, your YouTube channel was on, and we hear all these echoes. And
yes.
oh,
Yes.
okay, I'm sorry.
So you're doing good now?
I'm in action. I'm back in
Okay.
action. Here we
All
go.
right, good.
All right. Before we go, Jonathan B., I appreciate the super chat, or rather the Cash App. I can't say super chat. I gotta wait till I hit over 1,000. Huh? I'm gonna have to bring Danielle back here like a couple of times, and
You'll get there.
Well, Miss Ryan, I appreciate you. I'm his brother that he didn't want to talk about before. Welcome to the family.
Well, thank you. He would have never thought in a million years the first stream I was ever on would be yours, Uncle Stu. I've never been on a stream before.
Wow. Are you
Yeah.
serious?
I'm shocked she's here. I can't believe it, actually.
I mean, wait. He is world famous over here.
No, I'm not world famous.
He's world famous. See, all those people, they didn't come to see me. They came to see him. See,
No.
I'm just the host.
Well, when the stream's over, he does like a mic drop, and then he like walks out of his studio, and he tells me all about how everything, everybody was,
She's just
saying how
kidding.
wonderful he
She's
is.
sleeping, Stu. That's where she is. She's sleeping and she's yelling at me like, "Why are you coming to bed so late?"
I look at my phone. I'm like, "What time is it?"
See. She's coming to put a timer on you.
So, she would love to. So Danielle, people want to know though the truth. Okay, instead of just hearing it out of my mouth, always, right? Am I a decent dancer? Am I a good twerker?
Twerker?
See, now. I didn't ask that question about your twerking skit. Blind guy, I'm about to push you up here. You're going to have to control this. This is your fault, blind guy. His wife, their life.
Well, first of all, it's twerking, John, not torquing.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Did
twerking.
you hear that, John? It's twerking.
I don't know. Twerking, isn't it?
Torquing. Well, he was just working on the brakes, so I think he was like thinking about torquing his
Torque wrench. Yeah.
torque wrench. I've never seen you twerk, but you are an excellent dancer.
Used to be, at least.
Used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy, he's been known to do some cartwheels on the dance floor, maybe some handstands, his famous lawnmower dance.
Oh yeah, heavy on the lawnmower.
Lawnmower, yeah.
So Danielle, that means the next time we see a video, are we going to see the lawnmower dance?
I hope so. Not from me.
I hope not.
Please make sure we see the video so it can go viral.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Now pretend John's not here. Okay, what's some good secrets that we can learn?
Well, how much time do you have?
Hey, we're good.
Wow.
Look, I done had my coffee already. Yeah, look, my chat will hang out here all night to get the good.
All right, perfect.
I'm really nervous right now. I didn't plan on this.
Well, it depends on the topic. I have a whole list that I can share.
Wow.
Look, all I need to do, I won't bring up nobody but the women. They would love to hear the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The behind the scenes, what he really like.
Well, listen, if you want the behind the scenes, I can give you some of the behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah. So about, he's in that studio. I don't know what he's ordering, but every day something's showing up at the doorstep from Amazon. It's not for me.
John, you just got me in trouble.
I don't believe that. They're booing you.
I don't think it's me. I don't think that's No, but in all seriousness, he when he started this YouTube channel, a year ago, it was turned in from a hobby to, a dream of his. And he is really passionate about it. And, all kidding aside, where where I bust his chops, when he's in his live stream or, Jeff's live stream about, certain things. This is his passion. And, he puts the time, he puts the effort in. He knows, he talks to me about tech. I don't have any idea what he's talking about. As long as everything's working in our house, our computers, our TV, my phone, I'm happy. That's all I need to know about tech. But he's constantly reading, and the amount that he knows about everything that's involved between cameras and audio and lighting, it's mind-boggling. And just the fact that, he gives of himself to everybody that wants to better themselves with their live streams or YouTube channels.
I did not write any of this stuff for her.
No. No.
So,
but was that good, John? Did I
that was good.
touch on everything?
That was good.
But no, honestly, it's just what he loves to do, and and I'm just here to support him in what he loves to do.
So I see all the comments in here, and I actually, Stu, I actually have a high school friend since I've been 15 years old in here, Vince Portelli, and
Ken!
Ken. And so he's a high school friend. And then we have Ken, the content coach. He's another guy that's starting to know me pretty well. But when my wife first met me, that's when music was popular to download and computers were start getting to be popular. And I was ripping computers apart. I actually built her a computer when we first started dating that her family used for like 12 years.
Okay,
And
now let's see if we're gonna go back. Are we
okay.
talking about Gateway? Are we talking about the original?
No, custom built.
Packard?
Custom built.
I'm sitting here telling my age now because 90% of these people wouldn't know what a Hewlett Packard was.
Right.
They surely wouldn't know what Gateway Computers is. And they would never have heard the term IBM compatible.
Right. Well, my first computer was an NEC, which they have been around for years and years, for decades.
Right.
And so they were making computers at that time. And that computer in 1995 cost $3,200. And now, and after that, I started building my own computers, and I built like about 20 computers when I had met my wife. And then I built like 3 this past year. Same concept, just different stuff.
Right.
But so I've been building computers for a long time. And so that's really helped me with this YouTube channel to make some really powerful computers that really do the jobs that I need. So that's important. But
Cool. Danielle, let me ask you a question.
uh-oh.
John spoke earlier, and of course he spoke highly of you, but one of the things that he spoke about, and I really think that especially the ladies in the chat really doesn't get that depth understanding, is the intimate way in which you deal with John, especially his, if I can use it loosely, his mental state. What what background or training or what got you ready to be able to
Nothing.
deal with that?
15 years of marriage. I think we're finally figuring it out.
You figuring it out? Because unfortunately, it needs to be told, by you, because on these YouTube streets, you're hearing 20 different issues when it comes to relationships and marriage and this and that. And here you're doing it successfully 15 years.
Yeah, well, not without hard work.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. And I think at the end of the day, it's you make a commitment. Both people make a commitment, right? And it's always work, right? And so you're just trying to figure out how to be how to work together to support your spouse in whatever endeavor that they want to, whatever challenge they're doing. So, several years ago, I decided to go back for my master's degree, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a lot. I was working full time still. We had our son. I was still trying to do and be everything, as far as cooking and cleaning and doing the laundry. And then on top of that, taking my master's classes. And so, there's certain points in your relationship where, you need the support or, your spouse needs the support. So it's almost like you have to recognize, when you need to step up and give the support and vice versa. They're recognizing your need, and then they're going to step up and give the support when.
All right, Stu, you want the truth now?
How much was it? How much did it cost you, Danielle?
So here's the truth.
Okay,
First of all, she has her master's plus 45 credits. She worked her butt off in the course of 3 years to get the majority of that stuff, on top of her 4-year degree. And so last week, and I was discussing this in my stream last Thursday about how important it is to have the support of your spouse to be successful in YouTube. And so Ken, the content coach, actually just did a video on it with his wife, because it's something that a lot of people don't realize, that you literally, I was telling people, you need to sit down, you need to have the discussion with your family and say, this is what my goal is to get monetized. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time, learning how to use cameras, learning how to use editing software, learning how to take a picture and set up multiple cameras, whatever it may be.
Right.
And so it's a lot of time. And if someone is not behind you to get these things done, it would be very hard to achieve. So I sat down with her this past week on Wednesday, before the day before my stream or the day of my stream. And I said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to have gotten this far at this point with this channel. And she's like, well, that's not true. I didn't have a choice. And I'm like, I was like, what do you mean I don't have a choice?
Right.
You didn't have a choice. And she's like, because you were going to do it and I could either support you or not. And I said, yeah, okay. But if you didn't support me, I would have never gotten here. And it would have been just not possible to do it.
But what did I say? I said, I chose to support you because I love you.
Right.
Right. And so when you love somebody, while you may not have envisioned your life as,
it's a dream,
a YouTube, right, a dream. You haven't dreamt that you would be living the YouTube life,
Right.
Because life throws you curveballs, right? 10 years ago, you never can envision where you're going to be, right, down the line. And so when, twists and turns happen, if you're committed to the person and you love the person, you make those concessions to make it work.
But do you understand? But Stu, you understand what I was saying earlier about me growing up a certain way? Yeah, that's better. So me growing up a certain way, I don't have the capabilities as much as she does to give in certain areas. Right. And I wasn't lying, because she'll tell you, you put some multitasking on me with things that I'm not comfortable with, I shut down pretty quick. And
I don't know, would you argue, John, that because I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I'm this great multitasker either. So would you say it's a man thing, that we might do one or two things simultaneously, and that's it. We're just not multitasking.
Well, first of all, women are definitely better at multitasking. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
It's been proven, where I've known a lot of people in engineering fields. A lot of companies are hiring women more and more in these engineering fields because they're such great multitaskers. And on construction sites, it's so important to multitask. And I've seen this for a decade. And she is incredible at multitasking in comparison to me. But I think I used to be better. And I think that I had two pretty bad motorcycle accidents, and I definitely feel like my last one affected me in a lot of different ways. Maybe so much so that I might not even be the same exact person. I hit the ground so hard. So it's been a whole thing coming back from that. She was in the car driving when I'd have these panic attacks, just driving up a road and thinking people were going to smash into us. Right. So it took a while to get through those types of things, but like everything that we've gone through, it's been really a learning process for me to be a better husband and a parent. And she's much better than I am. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. But I don't agree with that. We come from different areas, right? And it's just, are we able to come together? And this is just not you and I, this is, everybody in a relationship. Right. Can you somewhat meet in the middle? And it might not always be the middle. Somebody might be giving a little bit more than the other person. But really, it's at the end of the day, you've made the choice, you made the commitment. And so as long as you're both working towards the goal and the greater good, and you're respecting each other's time, each other's feelings, and and you're communicating, that's a long road.
Communication's key.
Communicate with each other, because you could be communicating one way, the person's not receiving the way you're communicating. You have to hear them and understand that um, they may they may need you to communicate in a different way for them to understand it a little bit better.
Right.
And so, sometimes you're like two ships passing in the night. Sometimes you're butting heads, and then
But
sometimes you figure it out.
But what's really weird is, and she'll tell you this because she's known this in me since day one, is and she's the one that's really kind of pointed it out to me since day one, is that I have this hyper focusedness of certain things, right? So like I really don't know when to stop.
So John had mentioned when we first met, he was building computers, he was downloading all this music. And I remember times where I would come over to his apartment, I'd fall asleep on the couch. I would wake up ready to go home. He'd be like, "Hun, I just downloaded 10,000 songs." I'm like, you know, "Great, see you tomorrow." And I'd leave. And it was like that, for a good portion. And then
I got a lot of music.
And then, it turned in when we were married, his love for motorcycles came back because he rode motorcycles when he was younger. And so it was like, I called it, our garage door was like a revolving door.
Right.
2 bikes were in, then he's like, "You know what? I don't like these bikes, but this bike's going to make me happy." And then it would be like bike in, bike out, bike in, bike out. And so when he's focused on something, he's super focused on something, and he puts everything he has into it. And I think, I think he's found it here. I think he's found something that is fulfilling in all areas, where maybe
Yeah.
like the building computers and the music, it filled a void, but it really wasn't fulfilling. Motorcycles, he loved them, loves them. And it
Yeah.
might have filled a void, but it wasn't like fulfilling. And so
Yes.
I think this kind
She
of
hit the head on the
all
nail.
areas, because he's always wanted to be, like he mentioned, some kind of motivational speaker. He wants to help people,
Right.
but he also loves tech. And so I think this kind of encompasses everything that he loves and he's good at. And
Right.
so I think he kind of found his home.
So she hit the right word. I think fulfillment is the biggest thing, and I want to be fulfilled. And so when I started this channel, it was incredible the foresight that I thought I had, being that I knew nothing. A year ago, I knew nothing except how to build a computer.
Right.
I took photography in high school, but that was black and white rooms where you went in and used the chemicals.
The whole thing in the chemicals, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so this all is new to me in the last couple of years. So these kinds of things I've taught myself, but the thing that I really like about this whole thing is the connections that I'm making with the people. So I made it Coffee Talk and Tech, and I knew that from day one. I didn't want to pigeon myself with the tech stuff. So I was like, I'm going to call this Coffee Talk and Tech. But the thing is, I didn't learn until a few months later, not everybody in the world knows what Coffee Talk is, right? Because we're from New York, New Jersey. We know what Coffee Talk is, right? And so most people get it now, right? Because they thought that I should be on here drinking coffee saying, "Oh, this coffee is a brew that I really enjoy, and I used 100 grams of water over the top." No.
Right.
Coffee Talk is you sit down with 2 human beings, you have a discussion kind of like what we're having right now.
Right.
And so then having that discussion and leaving things open where it's not just everything tech. Jeff and I go into the psyche, the emotion, the fortitude that it takes to be successful with YouTube and streaming and all your goals. And so I think that we take the inner and the outer tech between Jeff and I, and we shape and mold it to help people. And that is the most fulfilling thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I even speak on that, Danielle, this is a question that's been targeted towards you. What advice would you give to the younger generations when it comes to relationships/marriage and growing up as a couple together with that support system?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everything we've talked about as far as communication is key. And I think a lot of times people struggle with what they feel maybe like unmet expectations. They expect something from their spouse,
Mhm.
and they're disappointed if they're not receiving that. And I think it's important that they're upfront and open. And a lot of times, like a lack of communication could be the cause of that. They think their spouse should recognize something
Yeah.
that has to happen, or that has to be done. And when we talked about multitasking and things being done versus men versus women, and I think women are a little bit better. I mean, in my experience, when I'm talking to my coworkers who, are female, we talk about the same thing. When we wake up, the first thing we think of is like, oh, I got to take meat out of the freezer because I have to cook dinner. And then it just continues like, I have to make
Right.
lunch. I have to make sure my son has clothes. I have to make sure I use your homework there. And then you have to get to work and actually go to work and send emails to teachers or make phone calls. If I make a phone call for John's doctor and then go to a meeting and then come home and cook dinner. And so I think our mind is always going. And then when we get home and we're like, there's still dishes in the sink. Why can't he
Right.
just wash the dishes? Right. And so certain things that we
I
think are
did last
important.
night.
You did. Yeah.
How- that's because you knew you was coming here and you figured you was gonna snitch in the
No,
chat.
not tonight. Last night I did
Yeah.
the leaves. I did the dishes.
You did.
I put my son to bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the
So
ladies, give John a one. Just give John a one. Give,
Round
give
of
him
applause.
a one. Give him a one.
I'm amazing,
Come
aren't I?
on.
and then you know what, Stu? After that, I should
Right.
have filmed the parade that went down our street because John did the dishes and he did the
It's true.
leaves. A parade came for him. Would you
See?
believe that? Yeah. It was amazing.
We're still looking for that lawnmower dance. We're all going to be looking for it. So
I could show it one day.
you can get
I'll
the-
show it.
You're a photographer, so you know what camera to use to get the close up, and we're waiting on that dance.
I'll film it. I'll get it.
All
Wow,
right.
I can't believe how many people. There's like people that know my dad in here that my mom must have said, Gary Calvino. Yeah, and that's known me since I've been a kid. And then Dan C is in here, part of the bearded community with Kent. There's a lot of people showing up. I really appreciate that, by the
So
way.
in other words, if I drop the StreamYard right now, if I drop it, we got all stories just about you.
Oh, God.
We can have a whole nother hour just
Yes.
to hear the old John stories.
Oh, I have stories that you could not even believe. I'm so serious.
Let me ask you, Miss Danielle, did you grow up similar to the way John grew up in the sense of no?
No. So I didn't move. So that was a
Okay.
big part of John's life. He was moving all around and it was hard because while, he's a super friendly guy and he was, from what I understand when he was a kid too. So it was easy for him to make friends and, as he was
Assimilate.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in my childhood home and I lived there until John and I moved out and, we got a place of our own and we got married. My parents were married. They're still married today. I have one sister. I was lucky. My parents were, where he had said that he didn't have a support pushing him to, try sports or try these different activities. I had my parents when whatever sport I tried. Field hockey was the one that stuck. That's my sport that I played through high school and I played a little bit in college as well.
I actually met her in the gym.
But she played hockey and
Field hockey.
I'm about to see if I'm going to have to shut the stream down. All right, I'm gonna give you one hint. I'm a Rangers fan.
Not ice hockey. Field
Not
hockey.
ice hockey.
Field hockey.
I had to see where we was at.
No. Listen, field hockey, people don't understand the rules. You can only use one side of the field hockey stick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
you're
that's not hockey.
Yeah,
That's
see?
not hockey.
That's not hockey.
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Danielle, I'm about to kick you off now. That's not hockey.
Anyway, so, I had gone to college, I was very fortunate. My parents had, paid for college for me. So I graduated without student loans, which is huge.
Wow.
And I'm a teacher, and as soon as I graduated, I got a job,
Yeah.
and I'm still working in the same school district that I had gotten a job at. I coached field hockey, the varsity team. I was a track coach, and like I said, I went back for my school. So, I have my master's. So as far as our childhood, and upbringing, it wasn't
Pretty
it wasn't
different.
similar. Yeah.
What grade level do you teach?
I teach middle
Do you
school.
teach in New York or New Jersey?
New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, so I teach middle school, so 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So that's
And then Stu, she's also 10 years younger than me. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we was about to check IDs, John. It's yeah.
So
we didn't want to tell you, John. We was already, we got the tech people that are like, this age looks a little bit sneaky around.
Well, one thing that John loves, and it's happened before on his stream, and I was just like, as I'm watching the stream, rolling my eyes, because when we started dating, his favorite thing would be when we go out to eat would be to ask the waitress, "How old do you think I am?" And they would say, right, yeah.
And you're still married, John? Oh my God.
And so they would say something, like 10 years younger, and he would eat it up.
Stu, if you ask a waitress, she's going to say something in your favor, right? And I knew that. So she gets a good tip, and I'm like 20 years younger.
But
I'm no dummy.
It's happened before where people were like, "I can't believe how old you are. You look 35." But like John said, we met in the gym, and I was training there. I was just working out, and he was working there. And I remember he was.
Oh yeah. There's a story with this.
Yeah, and so he was like talking about they were raising funds for
Special Olympics.
Special Olympics, and it was right before 9/11, and it happened every year, and it was a plane pull. So basically, you get a team of 10 together, and you try to pull an airplane.
A jet airliner, 747. Yeah.
And so he was talking to his friend about how he's doing this and he's going to pull a plane. So there I am thinking like, oh, this guy, he's talking loud on purpose, about pulling a plane. And well, the rest is history. He started talking to me, and
that worked.
Here we are.
Good job, John. You just gave every man in the chat like, oh, I got to try that one. See?
Just tell a woman that you're raising money for Special Olympics, pulling a jet 747 airliner with your friends, and dude, you get tons of dates. It's unbelievable.
Hey, John, because Jonathan JV
Yes.
is at work. So, are you able to see the question he asked?
Yeah. So he's asking me about my accident, and so he's really curious to hear the thoughts on this, and is a tough figuring out the move forward after the motorcycle accident. So I had two of them. The first one, I broke my back, broke some ribs. I kind of healed pretty much decent from that and was able to move on. The second one, where a deer actually ran into the side of my motorcycle, and then my fist went into the deer's neck and destroyed my whole left forearm. So I had reconstructive surgery for 9 months. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to use my arm after that. And so I will not lie to you, I cried. I cried because I felt like the weight of my shoulder, the weight on my shoulders, if I can't support my family and be part of that, and I was going to be dragging on that whole thing, it was enough to crush me. So right then and there, I knew that I didn't want to ride motorcycles until at least my son was raised and older, or maybe never again. And so I have never gotten a motorcycle again after the last accident. I don't have 100% use of my left wrist, and I have about 20 to 25% less strength in that hand also. But it was emotionally super taxing for a couple of years, where the next year, where after recovering, which was super painful, more pain than I've ever experienced in my whole life. I basically, I remember just, we were driving, right, Danielle, and we'd be driving, and I would just be, tears be coming down my eyes, just because like my love for that, but I just knew it was the right thing. So it wasn't like I missed it. It was just like, I missed it, but it just, I know I didn't want to do it, and I couldn't control the fact that I was emotional over it.
Well, and I think it was a big part of your life, right? And so anytime,
It was huge.
right, it was. Yeah, I'm not even. It
Yeah,
wasn't a big
I'm
part.
like,
It was huge.
I'm not
It,
like this guy that I'm a guy that was riding 10 to 15,000 miles a year
Yeah,
on
it
high end
was.
motorcycles. And I was a super skilled rider, and I knew how to like rip things. Like I could
Mhm.
rebuild motorcycles. I could rebuild Ducati engines. I was really into this.
Well, see,
Yeah.
everybody don't know, John. See, when we talk about the Lower East Side, you was hanging out with them Hell's Angels. So I see the love of the bikes. Did you have one of their jackets and you was trying to cool out with them? I mean, we ain't that far apart in age now. I do
No.
know about them on
So
the East Side.
I never owned a Harley Davidson, and it's hilarious
Okay.
because when people see me, that's the first thing they think about. It is unbelievable, right? So they're like, "Oh, you have a Harley?" No, I've had Italian motorcycles, English motorcycles, Japanese motorcycles, and I love them all for different reasons. And I've never had a Harley Davidson. It's just not my thing. But I've had a lot of different kinds of motorcycles, touring motorcycles, racing motorcycles. I've gone up Mount Washington on a dirt road. I've ridden the whole, the
Blue
mountains
Ridge
through
Mountains.
Tennessee.
Blue
So
Ridge
yeah,
Mountains, right? Yeah.
yeah, the Blue Ridge Mountains. Yeah,
That looks like I got to put that on my bucket list. Blue Ridge Mountains. Got to
yeah.
put that on my bucket list. Well, Danielle, you done let it out the bag now that you're a photographer.
I'm retired.
All of us YouTubers, when John started talking about cameras, be like, sit down, where's your wife at? Yeah.
No, you know what I have to say.
Okay.
I have not. I was a photographer. I enjoy photography.
Okay.
I haven't actively pursued that in several years. I have been thinking about getting back into it, but as far as cameras are concerned, like, hands down, I'm giving that one to John. He knows if you
Yeah.
want to know something about a camera, it's John. I mean, because listen, when he's focused on something, he
Right.
knows everything that needs to be understood to be successful. And that's
Yeah.
I think that's why he
So
is so
Okay. So I don't
successful.
I don't get any promos, so I'm supposed to go get the Canon M50.
I,
I
oh
hope
I
my team
no,
hears
I don't know what that answer. I mean,
that.
right now the camera I have in front of me is a Sony ZV-E10. The
Okay, I
can
got the Sony EZV1. So
Oh yeah, you got this one
you're
right
right.
here.
I gotta get the other camera. See.
That's the ZV-1.
See, I'm a tech person, so that means I gotta go out there, get that stuff, and look good doing it.
See, I'm currently working on the Lenovo laptop camera, and I'm pretty upset that John has all the good lighting right there. There's something wrong about that.
Well, I
Well,
put it like this. I know that right now, if I drop the link, y'all gonna have a whole lot of questions. So are y'all ready for people to come and talk to y'all? Because looks like y'all about to have your own YouTube separate page. Y'all about to,
Well, I joke that I'm going to start a YouTube channel,
no,
and it's
I
going to be
joke that you should.
no, I joke, and it's going to be, what did I call it? The behind the scenes, or the success behind Coffee Talk and Tech. That's going to be my channel.
The
there
success.
you go. Look, John, there's more
Bam.
women in my chat than there is men. You gotta watch it, John.
That might be
You know
true.
that sister code is real good now.
Yeah.
You don't want me to drop the link because they'll all start just coming after you, John. If you don't,
I won't win. I won't win. And I see everybody's comments, so I'm definitely keeping up. And I see Dan C came in. I see, I think, what's her name, broke her wrist too. She had reconstructive surgery. And yeah, I mean, good lighting is what I know about. That's true. Twerk, and people just want to see me twerk anyway. See, that's this. They want me to do a lawnmower dance. They want to twerk.
I think look, see, you can never go back to blind guy, his wife. They're never going to let you live that down. Hey, I think everybody want to see that dance. If anybody want to come up,
Oh my gosh!
you are
If John
more
twerks,
than welcome.
I'm not twerking.
Yeah, see, everybody's looking for that, John. They
Oh,
want to
sure.
see
Yeah.
twerk.
Get up, Stu. I got to hold out as long as I can with that
Lawnmower
twerking.
dance. You're just in trouble back out here in these YouTube streets, man. You're in trouble.
He does a heel
But
spin like nobody's
that's
business.
true. That is true.
Okay, so that's your next video. We want to see the lawnmower. And the spin. We don't want no tech. We just want to see the lawnmower
Yeah.
and the spin.
Guys, like Vince Portelli says, Fortnite got all the dance moves from me.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? See, all your buddies got to come up here and tell the story, John. We got to hear the
God.
story. Look,
Stu.
everybody, while we're waiting on people to come up, let's get the likes up, please. Subscribe to this channel.
I want to thank
because in reality, this is what you're going to see. This is part of Uncle Stu's channel. You know, we're just here chit-chatting it up.
we also
This is great.
have
I'm so glad I came on.
yeah, thanks.
Ooh.
I also have another
Now, I would have thought I'm waiting on like 300 people. I think John's buddy's kicking everybody out so they can tell the story. And we can learn about the real John, you know, not the in front of the scenes looking real good. And
I actually have my aunt and uncle watching from Hawaii right now, and that's Carl Hoagland, and they're watching from the island of Kauai.
well, since you got somebody asking from the islands of Hawaii, Oahu, let them know Schofield Barracks is in the house. United States Army, 1st and the 8th Field Artillery. So shout out to Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. Yes.
Nice. Our cannons.
Yes. And he is in China.
This gentleman right here?
Yes.
Oh, so he's asking, are Canon still considered a good vlog camera for YouTube? So I think the best one is definitely going to be the Canon M50 Mark II. And being that it comes with a fairly wide lens, kit lens that comes with it. And what's crazy is the digital stabilization that's built into the Canon M50 is somewhat decent. It is a pretty good vlogging camera. I wouldn't say that it's better than a ZV-1 because I think the ZV-1 is better, but Canon M50 Mark II is what's called more of a hybrid camera. So the great thing about it, it's great for photography because you have a viewfinder and it's got a great touch screen, which makes it simple to use. And I always think if anybody is stressing with tech, and I'm not talking about your average stress because everything is a learning curve. But if you're extra with that, like if you know how like Stu, when we talk about like when your mom had to have the VCR set and how simple that was, but you had to do it.
Yeah.
Like if you can't set a VCR, you need to get a Canon M50 Mark II instead of a Sony because it will be a little bit more of an easy learning curve. And I say this because if you don't use the things that are right in front of you, then what are they worthwhile? So if it's going to help you create more by, having something a little bit more simpler, then that's more important.
Gotcha. Well, Danielle, I guess I'm the one that's getting ready to be in trouble. So let me introduce you to my team.
Yay!
Hello.
So if this
Hi.
is your first time on the stream, everybody, shout out to my team, Brown Eyes, and this is the first time she has ever been on a live stream with me.
Look at that.
Or anyone else for that matter.
Me too.
And that was why I decided to come on up.
Awesome.
You know, since this was your first one, I figured I would make Uncle Stu my first live stream since I am quote unquote the team.
The team.
But now, John, I told you, somebody said that they are going to record you and they got you. Blind guy, his wife, their wife.
Hi, guys.
Hey
there,
everybody.
Hello.
Did you notice that John never told us about the lawnmower dance? Right.
Come on.
So here's the thing. We are popping in to say hello, especially to Danielle, because we're like, hey, Danielle. Sorry, Coffee Talking's work. You're old news now that Danielle is here.
That's true.
Hey, John,
Yes.
lots of people in the chat are talking about how much you two look alike and the similarities um, between you two. But what I need for you to do is teach Uncle Stu your moves and how to dance.
See.
Now that might be worth recording.
I don't know. I think he can do the lawnmower where he is now because we can see him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Come on, John.
Laquita, don't be shaking your head.
lawnmower.
Yes.
I mean, you know what?
The people want it.
Yeah, and us ladies have to stick together. So look, we got brown eyes in there.
Corey.
Corey, we got to teach John how to do the song.
Corey needs to do
We
this.
got to tell the women.
John,
Shut
There you
up.
go.
Don't let him teach you that. Don't let him teach you that.
John,
I want to
We're in
see the
trouble now.
dances. I want to see the dance moves.
Yeah.
I want to see Uncle Stu dance and shake it up a bit. Come on, get a little loose.
Corey
Oh,
has
boy.
some.
Busy
Corey has
putting
some.
out content. I'm
Corey,
a
you can jump
worker.
in too now.
no, John,
Yes.
John, I got something that's gonna help us all. Because of the CDC released a new statement said that dancing on YouTube is not so proper social distancing. So you can't do that. You can't do that at this time.
Really? That's
Dancing
great.
on YouTube is not the proper social distancing.
He just
I
dropped
don't know
an
what is.
he dropped a knowledge bomb.
No.
Right.
It was a good one. It was a good one.
See? And he dropped it so well.
Thanks, Corey.
That she stole my thunder. She's gonna clip that part and make sure all the YouTubers across the world know that
Listen.
whole thing.
Here's the truth of the matter, all right? I'm just getting started in this YouTube world. I got to find a way to get to 2,000 subscribers. If I show you my dance moves now, no one's subscribing.
I'm ready to.
We're in trouble. I just want y'all to know. She said she's putting on her show. She's calling it fake news right now.
Oh,
Come on, Danielle, you have to tape him. You have to tape him twerking, and I have to share this right. Come on.
I'll try my best. I'll try my best to see if I can sneak that. Yeah.
So,
Oh yes, yes. I'm gonna have all of you clip it and dancing and everything. Man.
So, ladies, we need to record.
Okay, good.
We need to secretly record.
Now y'all are lucky. I'm walking on the way home.
And send it to She Stole My Thunder so she can create a video. So, ladies, that is our challenge.
Well, guys, we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye because
we'll shut down the stream. All right, Chad, it was good to see y'all.
Yes.
This is it.
Oh, thank you. Yes, good idea. Good idea.
Laquita trapped Corey in the car, and they're either going. They sleep 45 minutes a night. So as it is,
John. I think we need to ask for some green cards around here. We had the Canadian just sneak back.
They're heading to Mexico.
Getting those clips. We got to see how that works.
Danielle dances too.
I do not. I don't even play the dance.
She's got moves. She's got footwork.
So in real life, we have.
Okay. How about this, John? You take a video of.
I'm not taking videos.
Sorry, John. You need to take a video of Danielle dancing. Oh, come on!
I have
her dancing.
No,
nothing
you don't.
X-rated. Come on.
I got her.
No.
I got her cleaning the gutters too.
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
is it?
He took a video of me cleaning the
Ah,
Right.
Does
Someone's
anybody
got to clean
want
the
to
gutters.
ask
John,
Corey,
how
somebody's
much-
got to clean the gutters.
He took a picture of you, Danielle, cleaning the gutters.
Yeah, does anybody want
video.
to ask why he wasn't on the ladder cleaning the gutters? Anybody?
John,
Oh, yeah, good question.
Come up here after you.
I was doing YouTube.
No, you weren't. You were sitting
Oh,
on the
sure.
couch and you were videotaping me.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble now.
I think is Is that static on your end,
Nope.
Danielle?
Nope.
I can't hear you.
Loud and clear.
Thank you.
Uncle Stu, Uncle Stu.
Sir.
Yeah, we got three lovely ladies that just got out of ballet and modern dance class, so we're on our way home. But it was great hearing your story, John. I got a motorcycle accident story I can share with you on a later date.
Corey broke, in short, Corey broke both arms at the same time after somebody hit a cycle when he was 13. But yeah, we'll talk about this later.
Oh, we
right.
have to. Yeah, so you can relate a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in and saying hi because I love you guys and we always connect and I'm big fans of you guys. And it's part of the reason why I even met any of these people. So thank you so much.
It was nice to meet you.
Same
You
here.
too, Danielle. So good to see you as well, Brown Eyes. And always, she stole my thunder. And of course, to the host, you already know we love you, Uncle Stu.
Thank you very much. You know I love y'all too.
You know what?
Shut up.
Shut up.
Yeah, get it, John.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I laugh every time he does that too.
I can't wait till you try that.
No,
around
I'm
the
not.
house.
I don't try that at home.
You better not.
John, you got to wait for us to come in. It's a team effort.
Yeah, that's
Don't do it solo.
no way.
Then you'll
I'll do
be
it
on
so.
Melissa's
I'll do it
show,
so low
where
she
she'll
can't hear me.
talk about, we can no longer see your show no more because Melissa done hung you up on a tree somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, Danielle, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel about all the different tech things that come in the house all the time?
It's a surprise every time. In fact, I was watching his live stream when he was talking about that new camera that he got. That when he was joking around that the B&H sent him that whatever that your new camera that you got in white, the $800
Right.
camera, and I was like, okay, first I'm hearing about this. I don't know. He's always selling something to buy something else, and he tells me it all works out in the end. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, I was able to get a Rogue in my house before anybody knew it. And
Yeah.
I got a Rogue and a nice little, $900 mic. And I had to get the stand to go with the mic. And
You spent $900 on a mic?
I got the best, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
I know,
you should
and I always ask
have
him.
talked to me first. I'll
I
tell you
always
that.
ask him
I know.
when something shows up, I'm like, how much does this cost? And so it's like he plays with me. He's like,
This is the perfect example that I'm stuck on the $900 mic. So this is
it's a Shure mic.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is a perfect example of someone told them that this was the best mic when they don't even know what the mic's supposed to be used for.
Okay.
So, no, I'm just telling you because and it might be, but I'm just going to say, when people say it's the best, it can only be the best for certain situations. So let's take like a Sennheiser 416 mic, which is one of the best mics you can get for $1,000 shotgun mic.
Okay.
That mic is useless in untreated conditions. You will have so much reverberation of your voice coming in all different directions. And people think that's the best mic to have. And I see the conditions they use it, and I laugh to myself because they have no idea that a pencil mic is what you're supposed to use. So someone sold them a bag of goods just because they don't even understand how things work. And that's a lot of money for a mic. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, I'm working hard to get my 1,000 subscribers so I can at least
Brown eyes, I feel for you.
Yeah. The road was already like, ooh, and then I had to get somebody from the outside to help me set it up. So it was
guys,
bad for a while.
I want people to know that's what I'm here for. Bounce ideas off me. And I have an email in my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram, Coffee Talking Tech. Bounce things off. I don't mind having that. And all I ask for is just a little bit of let people know who I am. Subscribe to my channel. I'm just trying to grow and I want to just give. And if I know about something, I'll help. But if I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. I'm not going to fake it.
And I'll also
Brian,
be there for
make sure
anybody
you
that
put,
wants to talk.
Coffee Talk Tech's YouTube channel in the chat for me, please.
Because there's a lot of nuances that come with tech, and you can spend a lot of money. And listen, yeah, I've spent a lot of money in this room, but being a tech channel is one thing versus being a channel that is basically coming on and interviewing people. I'm showing off some tech because that's what I'm involved in, but not everybody has to have those kinds of things.
Gotcha. What I'm gonna do, I got what the itch. This is my right hand business partner right here. Now when we get ready to like just go overseas, just say the heck with America, we sick of it, and we want to go to the other side of the world. That's the one we got to go and talk to.
This is where we're going.
This is where we're going. What's going on? We ain't signing itch.
Hi, Stu. How are you today?
What's going on, sir? Doing well.
Yeah, good evening to you guys.
Nice
Yeah,
to
it's
meet you.
9:30. Nice to meet you as well. So yeah, I have a few tech questions really quickly. I'm prepping. Uncle Stu finally inspired me to roll out a YouTube channel, so I'm probably trying to get everything prepared for this January. So you mentioned something about audio, so that's why I'm calling in actually.
Okay.
Because we're going to be outside a lot and we're going to be reviewing and be in noisy restaurants. So, what is the best type of microphone for that kind of atmosphere? Because you talked about treated environments versus untreated environments.
Untreated.
So, obviously, restaurants would be an untreated environment. So,
Right.
what do you recommend? Just like microphone clips, or what do you recommend?
So when you say you're going to be reviewing in a restaurant, are you
Yeah,
reviewing
food review.
about the restaurant yourself?
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
reviewing about the restaurant myself.
Right.
Food reviews, talk about the, just kind of let people know about the different types of cuisine here in China, here in
Right.
Shanghai, things like that.
Okay.
That
So
kind of content.
of course, there's always going to be possibilities of how much you can spend, but definitely the best thing to start out with would be like a lapel mic.
Okay.
And if you can have a lapel mic and you can keep the camera somewhat close to you, then you could just
Mhm,
plug right into the camera and use a lapel mic and it sounds good. And that's would be like the simplest way. But
mhm,
if I was serious and I
mhm.
really wanted to have some flexibility, then I
Right.
would definitely not pass up on some Rode Wireless Go 2 microphones. You know what the ones I'm talking
Okay.
about?
Yeah, they look like these square things. It's like separate audio, right? They look like these square things because that's what I'm thinking, right?
Yep.
Just have it like a separate audio type of system that you can just, can kind of reincorporate back into the video and
I
post
have them right
production.
here actually somewhere. I was going to show them, but yeah, they're exactly. They're really small and they're
Hmm.
really effective and that's the second version that's come out and you get two of them. So if you
Hmm.
have another person, you can add them, but they're really good because you can either clip that just little mic within itself onto your
Right,
shirt and talk,
right,
which really makes it easy. No wires bothering you. And then you put the
right.
small little unit on top of the camera. You're going to really sound good. And if you have the settings correctly set to save some battery life, you could get as long as about 5 or 6 hours out of one of those.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I'm thinking that, and then also the gimbal, the DJI gimbal.
Uh,
Having that as well, so that gives you that kind of movie
yeah.
stabilization feel to it.
And what camera would you be using? Or a phone?
Well, no. That's what I'm thinking. Like, what cameras will be good for that? Because I want to buy two. I want to buy one for the studio because I want to. We'll have a studio set where we'll be
Okay.
doing filming there, and then we'll have a better other equipment for like on the road, right?
Okay. Okay. So your studio set, you want to like leave it there, not touch it, always ready to go.
Right. Right. So I'm
Okay.
thinking about put that on the tripod, leave it there because we like the whole concept of the channel would be talking about how food is incorporated in all parts of our life. Food and
Right.
weight loss, food and beauty, things like that, food and culture. So we
So
want to so sometimes we'll be cooking ourselves and then sometimes we'll be reviewing going out.
is this studio camera gonna always stay in the studio for streaming?
Always always going to stay in the camera, not video recording, not for streaming. Well, some
Okay.
I guess streaming down the road, yeah, but it will always be there. Stationary never moves.
Okay.
It'll
All
stay
right.
there
So
permanent.
two suggestions here, and you're going to have to figure out which one's better for you. I would
Hmm.
go with either a Sony A6400
Okay.
or I would go with the Sony ZV-E10. One of those two, okay? And there's big differences in both of those. So,
Hmm.
and either one, though, you would want to get that Sigma 16 millimeter lens.
Okay.
So 16 millimeter, 1.4 f-stop. And so that is going to give you a nice wide view. This is the one that I'm using on this picture right now, and you'll get a lot of light in, and it's going to look really good. But the other thing is, the reason and the differences of the cameras are the ZV-E10, the new one, which is the one I'm on right now. It never leaves here, and it will always be a streaming camera. It's fully plastic and it's not weather sealed. A 6400 has a viewfinder for pictures. It also has a couple different things, but it's got a magnesium body, so it's much stronger and it's much more prone to take a little bit more of a beating. And also, it's weather sealed. So you got to decide which one would be better for you in the long run, because they're both very good quality as far as video recording.
Okay. Because I was thinking about the Canon 80D, right? But I
Okay,
guess
so
that's a little bit,
but that's old.
but
So you're gonna buy that
yeah, that's
used?
cool. No, well, in here you can buy it. They still sell it here.
Okay, so that's a DSLR. That's not a
Right.
mirrorless.
Right.
Okay. And if I were you, I would not get that. And
Okay.
if you were intent on getting that, then I would get the 90D.
Okay.
Okay. Because the
I have
90D.
no emotional connection to either. I just want something. So I'm
Okay.
happy with a Sony. I have no emotional connection. I just want the
Oh,
best.
but if
You know.
you've used Canons, I'm not against it. I have an EOS R. I mean, that my
Right.
rear camera is an EOS R. It's a great camera, but
Right.
that's a full frame camera that's a little bit
Right.
costly compared to a crop sensor.
Well, the only reason why I'm using Canon is because when I went to Safari in Kenya, we used Canons, and
Right.
it was a nice
I
experience.
I love their menu system. I love
Right.
how easy it is to use. And if I were going to stick with a Canon, and listen, that's your choice. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I own two Canons. I own two Sonys. So I would say that if you're talking about Canons, you definitely have to get the M50 Mark II
Hmm.
or an EOS R. So the EOS R is a very
Hmm.
nice higher end photography / whatever picture, but you can get two Canon M50s. It's going to be up to you. It's just they're two different animals, and everybody. It's like having like someone with you can't tell a person they're wrong because they want to use a Mac
Right.
over a PC or a PC over a Mac. So
No, I hate Apple. I can't stand Apple, so they're wrong in my book. But
well,
anyway,
right,
joking. But no, but what I'll do is probably do the M50 for
Mark.
outside filming,
Yeah,
and
Mark
then
II. Make sure it's a
yeah,
Mark II.
Mark II M50 for outside filming,
Yep.
and then probably go with the Sony for in studio, right? And then have the equipment and the DJI gimbal and the new
Rode wireless
what is
go
it?
tos.
Yeah, the Rode and then the Maverick 3 drone, right? Because that's pretty nice. I want that.
Well, yeah, that's nice. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. I just want that. But thank you, appreciate that. That was all my questions.
Okay. Yeah. I hope we helped you. And also, you can always reach out to me at my channel if you have any more questions or go into a couple more things in depth. You can always reach out to me there.
We'll do. And then, well, I do have one last question. Well, no, no, I don't, because I know what I'm going to do. But let me get your no. But I kind of I made my decision on it already. But I'll get your thoughts.
Go ahead.
Do you prefer? What do you recommend for new folks who are getting into the media streaming and things like that with zero editing experience? Do you recommend them to edit or go to like Upwork or Fiverr and just have someone like just do it abroad?
No. Listen, here's the truth. Here's the thing. You start looking for shortcuts before you even start, you're going to have a big downfall in your whole idea of what a YouTube channel. Part of enjoying the journey is learning the things you need to learn to get it done correctly. You can't tell somebody to edit in the style that you're fond of, or that you may have a special touch for that you don't even know. You haven't experienced to show your creative side. Don't halter yourself in all these aspects. Look at it as these creative nuances that you're going to learn along the way, that it's a struggle, and you could tell the whole story when you're done. If you're doing this because it's money, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. You probably won't last in the long run. But if you're looking for satisfaction and fulfillment, take the ride and teach yourself the things you need to learn for your channel to function, because you're going to find yourself spending a lot of money going out and not coming back if you keep on paying people to do your editing, to do this, to do the things that are important that you do learn, because this is your channel.
Yeah, I understand that, but here I understand that, but I don't have the, because I have work in other businesses as well, so I don't really have the time, and I
So
think
you have a
for
whole
the long,
concept
yeah,
behind the idea that you're trying to achieve. And that's a little bit different
yes,
than where I'm coming from. So I understand what you're saying.
right. Well, I want to. The idea behind it is to build a YouTube channel that I can have, that eventually I would hire people to actually be on camera talent. Right. I want to build something to where I started to later on have on camera talent and things like that. Right. I want to
Gotcha.
build it like that. So like, and here, labor is not that expensive. And then also I have relationships in the Philippines, which is really inexpensive.
Hmm.
So, kind of editing, we're talking paying folks $3-4 an hour for
No, I
editing
know
and
how it all
all.
works. Trust me.
Yeah.
I
So
know how everything works, but, but,
right.
um, uh, yeah, you can also, get yourself a few hundred subscribers along the way and a bunch of views for
Yeah.
real cheap too. But it all depends
Yeah.
what you're trying
Yeah.
to achieve. And I'm about, I didn't take one shortcut to get one subscriber or one
Right.
view. And so that's what
Right. No, no,
I'm
I'm
more
not. I'm not
about.
talking about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, as far as just the editing part, right? Just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
editing.
But I personally, like, to me, I could never do that. I mean, I understand
Okay.
why you might do it. I work a full-time job, plus have a son. I have everything under the sun that I have to take care of. And listen, it might almost make sense for me to pay someone to do a little bit of editing, because I don't even have enough time to get the videos I have out. I understand in that situation a little bit, but I think it's important that you learn at least the basics of that, because
Right.
I just think it's important to show that that's what you are. You're the channel. You're the face behind it. Get it
Right.
rolling. But you have a different concept, and I'm not saying that it's not correct. So it's
Mhm.
just a different path.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah.
I
So,
feel you.
but I kind of made my decision on that. But just to hear your thoughts, just a different perspective. I understand that.
Yeah,
So,
I,
but
I
thank you.
understand. Time is money, and then sometimes, at least if you're filming and you're getting your what you want out of the filming, and you have a connection with the person, where you can explain what kind of image you're trying to put out with the video, then that's really
Right.
important too. So
Well.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well, because I mean, I'm going to have a guy filming me anyway, right? Because
right.
it's three of us, right? Two on camera talent, and then one guy filming us walking around and doing the things like that, right? So we
Nice.
have extra hands, right?
Cool.
So
And
yeah.
one thing before I go, I just want to point this out, and just remember, I have a video on the Canon M50. It's the one that Stu was making fun of with my wife in the beginning. And it
Uh huh.
points out its strengths, and I have another video that points out some weaknesses. Just remember, if your intent is to film in 4K and have that for future proofing, the
Uh-huh.
4K is going to be much better in the Sony. So don't forget that.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so then I should get two Sonys then.
Yeah, and you should also just know that you're gonna, if you're doing a lot of movement with those Sonys versus a standstill picture, there's a lot of
Right.
big differences, because you have warpage in the picture if you move with it.
With a
Because
Sony.
if you're vlogging with it, if you're going to do serious vlogging on the street, the ZV-1s are actually better than anything else as far as that.
The ZV-1s?
Yeah, the ZV-1s are better because
ZV-1s, okay.
yeah, they're taking a true 4K image, whereas the ZV-E10s are taking a 6K image and sampling down to a 4K. So there's a lot of processing being done where when you walk with that, the image moves back and forth and acts like a jello-y effect, whereas it doesn't happen in the ZV-1s. So there's a couple things to know. And if you want to know these things, we can definitely have that discussion later on. Let me know.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And I'll definitely be subscribing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Nice meeting you.
First, let me give a shout out to Kombucha. Welcome. Now, how did you stay with a straight face with Vince saying, trying to warn about you in the bathtub?
It has to do with my hyperfocus, so I didn't even listen. I didn't even read that. I was so into answering him correctly. So, but now I read it. Vince is one of the most funniest people that I know, and we grew up laughing and having a great time. And he's the reason why I've stayed friends with him for all these years too. So,
if you want the inside scoop, Vince is the guy you need.
Vince, I'm dropping the link just for you, Vince. Let's drop the link for Vince.
Oh,
we need
God.
the inside scoop. We want the real deal, Holyfield.
He's gonna tell you about
nobody else. We just want Vince up here. No more questions. No. If anybody wants to come up, feel free to come up. Please feel free to come on up if you want to come up here. All right. Now, this is my right-hand partner right here, the man of the hour. He is Mr. JB. He probably over there sipping wine, having some Martis. You know how these young guys are. They got that laid-back life.
Right. Kicking, relaxing.
Yeah,
That's why he doesn't want to come on camera. He's like, nah, I'm chill, man.
I got out the hot shower, got his Versace robe on. Can't tell him nothing,
Nah. No, I've actually been working while I'm listening. So shout out to John, shout out to Danielle.
Thank you.
You guys seem like a dope couple. So shout out to y'all for that. I think that's the kind of when I heard Danielle talking about the reason why she supported you, I feel like that's what any man wants to hear. To be quite honest with you, so that was just super dope to hear that.
I know it. Thank you for saying that. And it when we were talking the other night, and I heard her say like, I was like, you had a choice, and she's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, how do we not have a choice? Of course you did. And she's like, yeah, but I don't know. And her answer, I didn't finish this, Stu. I didn't tell you this. So she basically says to me, and this is the truthful part. I wanted to tell you the truth, and this was the part is, I said that you had a choice, this, that, and the other thing, and she's like, I said, it's kind of like when you went to school to get all your credits. I was like, I supported you. And she's like, yeah, but I did the same things I usually do.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. And I was like, well, then I just suck. Cause like, I was like, and this is the differences though. This is what I'm talking about.
Right.
That I am capable of giving somewhat of myself to a point, and this is, if you've ever watched me on my channel, and I try to explain this, and Melissa was there this week, where I'm trying to give more of the inside of myself to people in a way that I never have before, to enjoy the ride that we're talking about, that journey. And I'm trying to open myself up to be able to take the love in that I probably don't do a good job of doing. And hence why I get a little awkward when people give to me. And that is part of being this 50-year-old guy who didn't understand how everything works and just wants to take the things that I should be have taken my whole life in, and now trying to adapt to it. And so this is a thing that I lack, that I'm trying to get better at, and she's much better at supporting me than I am her, and that's the truth. So
The important thing is like reflecting, right? And so as we go through life, we make mistakes. You know, you're successful at certain things, but you're not going to learn unless you reflect, right? And reflect honestly and realize where you fall short. You know, maybe where you did well, and that's where the improvements come, because you know, through that
yeah,
reflection.
well, it's not
So
easy, but yeah, that is
no,
true.
but yeah, but the point is, you can say I'm 50, you know, whatever. People can
I'm
say
50.
it. Yeah, I know. You don't look it.
I'm
Um,
50 years old. 50.
You
you
know,
know, but some
we
people,
proud when we
50.
get to our age. We understand that y'all in your 30s, so we're old to y'all, but you know, we're proud men
that's
like
right.
that.
Someone in their 30s like me, right? Yeah. Um,
40.
you know, but some people don't even get there, right? Some people,
Yeah, no, that's true.
you know, some people lack that ability to reflect, and you know, and they're just kind of in this cycle where they're just not getting anywhere in life, and they don't know why, whether the
Yeah.
relationship or their work or anything like that. So you know, you can say it took you a while, but you know, it's we're all learning, right? We're all
Hmm.
growing, everybody, you know, and so reflecting is an important part to grow as a person, whether individually or, you know, as a couple.
And it's part of my fulfillment.
I
But you
think
know
that's
what?
great.
I can relate to where you are, John, for real. Um, this week also brought me a reality that I never thought about, you know, or never totally. I don't want to say I never took this seriously, but I think that there was definitely um, an area where it was more in depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Can I pick that up? Can I pick that up?
sure, because
Okay.
Jonathan is part of this in
Yeah.
depthness. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Go ahead.
So Thursday last week, I lost my oldest son. He lost his he lost his battle with type 1 diabetes, and he passed away. Um, this is the first live that Uncle Stu has done since then, and it's been a very tough time for myself, my younger son. Um, but guess I'm saying Uncle Stu. This sounds so funny to me. But anyway, he's been fantastic through this whole thing, and I don't know how I could get through it. I mean, every day is a day, and um, he's been phenomenal. But not just him. This whole YouTube family has been amazing to us. Um, this, like I said, this is the first time I've been on. I have been up on anyone's platform, and I just want to thank everyone and just talk about the support, like you were talking about, Danielle, because that support has been everything. And total, to me, you guys are strangers. You guys don't know me. I've only been moderating on Uncle Stu's platform, and um, the outpouring of support, the outpouring of condolences, and people that know Uncle Stu have called, emailed, text, but have also asked to speak to me and checking in on me. Jonathan is one of them, prime example, since he's right here with us. And I just want to tell you that this was something that I did not expect the in terms of the YouTube family just embracing us and my family, Uncle Stu, um, my other son, and everything. Because it's tough. No parent should have to bury their child. Um, We are laying him to rest this weekend, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but I'm glad I have Uncle Stu there, um, as part of my support, as part of my family, and this whole YouTube family is part of my family. And I've told him repeatedly how just amazed I am that um, everyone is jumping in and everyone is showing so much support to us in this extremely difficult time. Um, because it's just, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's been day by day. It honestly has. Today I think I only cried once today. Yesterday I cried all day long and didn't want to get out of the bed. But it's I just thank you. I just thank all of you, and I especially thank you, Uncle Stu, um, for everything. And I'm just amazed at this YouTube family. And any support that we can give to any of you, we definitely will. Um, okay, I don't think I can say anymore. I don't think I can say anymore.
Well, I just want to, can I just say sorry so much from our hearts and from my wife and I. And also, it is kind of amazing that you can come onto a platform and never meet somebody sometimes
Hmm.
and forge these deep friendships with
Hmm.
people. It is part of what is truly amazing with YouTube. And we're lucky to be able to have these abilities to connect with these people. And I just hope I just hope that the rest of your week goes as good as it can. And we're just so
Yeah,
sorry for
yeah,
you.
yeah. Just our deepest condolences, and we will definitely be thinking about you and praying for you, and especially, this weekend, just praying for the strength for you and your family, to get through, such a difficult and traumatic time. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And if you haven't seen, um, Uncle Stu did a fantastic video in honor of my son. It's on the channel. It's called RIH Dorian, and it's for my
Sorry.
son. So if you haven't seen it, please take a look at it. It's um, a really good honor to him, but it's also a really good message for anyone that's going through something. And it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm honored that he did that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to
Well,
bring us down. I'm sorry, but I just wanted.
No, no,
I just
you
wanted
No, you
didn't.
should
it was
no.
my
No,
Don't
heart
don't
to
no.
just
don't
get that
apologize.
out.
never
Let,
say
let
sorry.
me
It was
let
to
me
just
let
get
me
that out.
give a spin and a caveat to that. What everybody don't know, she has been bragging about out of everybody that's been calling and speaking for 30 and 40 minutes to her. She's been bragging to her sisters about a young man by the name of Jonathan Barron. And she says, "Oh my God, he sounds like my son. Oh, that's my son. That's my son." And her and Jonathan spoke for at least 30 minutes. And she was just tickled to death, like, "Oh, he's like my son. That's my new son. I gotta go to Georgia. I gotta meet my son. That's my." So, Jonathan, I thank you. You know, um, we haven't been out here doing catch apps and all this other stuff. We've been doing good. Um, it was the phone calls that really helped her, and she was just so, when she spoke to Jonathan, we had a situation. She got a chance to speak to John, and it was like hearing a mother speak to a child, like, "You better not let nobody beat up on my Jonathan. And if you let anybody beat up on my Jonathan," it was like, "Are you serious? Like, that's my Jonathan. Nobody better touch my." So, Jonathan, you got a second mother right there. So, that's your second mom, dude.
I'm honored. I'm flattered to hear that. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad the conversation was in some way helpful because I think it's always hard to know how to you know um And I told you this on the phone. Like I think sometimes like because I could say I understand, but I really don't, right? Like
Right.
I've lost people, you know, and whatnot, but I don't know what it's like to be a mother who loses her son. So I can't even say I understand. So really, the best you could say is my condolences, right? But even that doesn't feel like it's enough. So
Yep.
anyway, I'm honored and flattered that it was at least helpful in some way. And you should not apologize for that, by the way. I mean, this is something that's fresh. You know, you're not bringing anybody down. It's not like it's an inconvenience. I think um, first of all, it was on topic, and second of all, it's actually helpful to hear stuff like this. So, I just want to point that out.
I agree.
Yep. I got a new mom. Her name is Marlene Ryan, so I got to meet my mom. So, Jonathan, you ain't the only one that got a new mother around here.
Yeah, she's always here supporting my lives all the time, all the time.
That's super dope, man. So basically, John pulled up here, and the whole family pulled up. Okay, so that means if somebody tries something, okay, they ready to bring the smoke.
That's
They're
right.
not play- they're not playing.
I'm
They're
smoking on
not
the
playing.
dance floor.
I tell you. Yeah,
No,
because
no. Listen, John, you keep saying that, you keep saying stuff like this, okay? But you know, we're gonna call your bluff on this. We need to see the proof. Okay, we
So
need to see the proof.
my wife met me, and 20 years ago or so, and she found in my glove box, right? Would you find these cards that I had, right?
Yep. It
With
said
the
drop.
cards.
It said drop the zero and get with a hero.
that's right.
So he printed off his own business cards, right? And you know how
Okay.
you print off a sheet of business cards.
Right.
But the shocking part was like half of them were missing. So he was like literally giving these out to people. I didn't get one, but he's giving them out to somebody. I don't know who has these cards. And I'm sure somebody, 20 years later is like, can you believe this guy? I bet you they still have the card, you know?
Probably.
Can you, can you believe this dork tried to pick me up with this card?
I
Hey,
loved
it
making
worked.
people laugh, so
Nope,
that
he
was the
didn't give
key.
me a card.
I didn't want you to run.
Yeah, see? He gave it to the women he really didn't want
That's true.
until he found the right one. Then he was like, oh, I can't use this
Can't
one
give her
on
that
her.
card. Can't show her that card. I need a different card.
Right. He had to go solo professional with you. See?
Yeah.
So John, I was the one who asked the question about the accident, the motorcycle accident, because
Yes.
I was very curious to hear your thoughts on this, right? And you kind of gave a bit of it, but this is something that I'm still struggling with right now, and so that's why I was asking that, because I'm a biker as well. In fact, I actually learned how to ride motorcycles, and I used to BMX as a kid, and then
Oh, awesome. Me too.
oh yeah, perfect. Yeah. So basically, I started with that, and then I got into motorcycles. My mom basically was always just like just in fear, basically. Like my entire teens, my entire teenage years, my mom was basically just living in fear, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so over the years, I've seen a number of motorcycle accidents. In fact, um, believe it or not, one of my friends back in Massachusetts actually ended up dying after an accident that I personally witnessed, right? So a motorcycle accident I personally witnessed. And this was in Brockton, Massachusetts. Um, and so I've seen a number of accidents over the years, right? And
Right.
personally, for myself, I've had a couple accidents, but they weren't too bad. Like because I think part of it for me that saved me is because I always wear gear. I'm always fully geared up, even when I'm on my Harley, which the Harley guys make a lot of fun. They make fun of me all the time.
Yep.
Because they're laughing at me because I'm wearing all this gear. They tell me I look like a Power Ranger and all other types of stuff. But um, but I think my gear has saved me a number of times. I had one accident where I ended up sliding for a while, and
Yep.
the whole armor basically gone by the end of it. So imagine if that was just basically my body, right? Like it would have been terrible. But I
Terrible.
think for me, what did it for me though is on April 21st of this year of 2021, I actually got into a severe car accident, and I actually miraculously made it. Like, it's actually, I don't talk about this a lot, but I was in physical therapy up until July, and it was like the car was totaled. I had to be basically like they had to cut the door open to get me out of the car, like into a stretcher straight to the
Yeah.
hospital. So it was a bad accident. I was surprised I made it. And what's interesting is even though it wasn't a motorcycle accident, ever since that car accident, I've been able to get back into a car at this point. But every time I keep thinking, imagine if I got into the same accident just on my
With the
motorcycle.
bike.
Like there's no way I would have survived that. Absolutely no way, right? And
Yeah.
so I have not had. I ended up. I sold my. I had an MT-07 and I have a Sportster. I ended up selling my MT-07. Sorry, I sold my MT-07. Um, this past fall, and then I still have the Sportster, but I haven't been able to have the like. I just don't have the courage, man. Like, and as a biker, it's tough to admit this, but I don't have the courage. It's just sitting in my garage, and mind you, like prior to the accident, I had done a bunch of work on it. I changed the exhaust system. I
Yep.
mean, I did. I poured so much money in that thing, and now it's just sitting in the garage, and I haven't been able to get the courage to get on it. So
So
I don't know what to do. Like, there's part of me that just wants to sell it and just give up on biking.
here's the thing. First, I think you're using the wrong word. I don't think it's courage at all. I don't think it's about courage. I think it's about someone that's grown to see that there's other things besides riding a motorcycle out there. I loved it beyond belief, but you got to remember where I was living was farmland. Like I could literally go a mile down the road and I'm in farmland. So even though I'm in farmland, and plus I applaud you for wearing all the gear because I do too. And I'm big on all the gear, full leathers, $300 gloves, because when you hit the ground, if your
Yes.
hands don't have carbon fiber gloves with goat skin covering, you will go
Man,
right to
talk
the
that talk.
bones. Yep.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So
fully worth
those
it.
things are important. And I know people, I've seen people on the Blue Ridge Parkway lose their lives, and the Dragon's Tail and those types of places, and even up by me. So my first accident was 7 hours of riding in full leathers at 93-degree weather, being dehydrated and losing consciousness and going off the road. I smashed my face into the ground. I broke my ribs. I broke my T8 vertebrae, and I got torn up, a lot of soft tissue damage. Came back from that. Second one was bad. It was bad, and literally 6 weeks or a couple months after that, I rode all the way down to Tennessee and stuff after that. So I wasn't afraid at all. And getting back on the bike was fine because I knew it was my accident. But depending on where you live and the way people are on their phones constantly when they're driving, I would say that you'd have to be brave nowadays to ride in those conditions. I don't think it's brave to get on the bike. I think it's just knowing that people are not keeping their eyes on the roads as much as they should anymore is darn right scary, and I see it all the time. And I can't tell you what your passions are and where you are. I can only say put the safe stuff on, learn how to ride to your best ability, know how to do panic stops, all that type of stuff. But it won't save you because I'm one of the safest guys you'll ever meet. And then a deer runs right into the side of my motorcycle on a 65-degree midday and practically took my life. So.
I mean, and it's not saying you lack courage. Sometimes when things happen, it gets you to rethink your priorities,
Right.
and so maybe you're viewing it as you're lacking courage, but maybe you just need to reframe it a little bit and think about why are you thinking this and why are you feeling this way, and maybe it's just priorities have changed. You're viewing things in a different way, and it's making you second guess getting on, the motorcycle. But it's not something, I mean, I don't think that you should rush or feel like,
Pain
you
will do
know,
that to you too.
yeah, that you're lacking courage. And so I should just get on the bike because I'm lacking courage. Maybe it's not, maybe it's, if you look at it from a different perspective, just a change in your priorities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you guys make some great points here. I think so. Okay, so I think it's multiple things for me, right? And it's the fact that it's one of this may sound super silly, but it's the fact that I think up until I got into that car accident on April 21st, like um I wasn't even like worried about getting on the bike, right? Like I was just like, okay, I'm gonna finish doing all this work, and I couldn't wait to get back on, right? But that car accident, I mean, it was a moment for me, and I think in so many ways, right? Because after that car accident, first of all, I got to see who my real supporters were, right? Because it's not something that that I too many people knew about, even in my own family. Like I kind of just let the people that I think are close, people that I consider close friends, etc. And I realized in that moment where I needed people, right? Where I was like, I live alone, right? Like I'm a single man and I live alone, in a house by myself. And so while I'm like in physical, having to go to physical therapy, having to do everything on my own, having to, if I need food, whatever, like even the little things that I was kind of
Yeah.
taking for granted before that, now I'm having to take care of myself. And I'm
Yep.
realizing like, damn, like I'm always looking out for people. And in this moment right now in my life where I just need somebody to help me do this one thing, and I will even pay you if I have to pay you. I'd
Yeah.
rather just be somebody that I trust. And I started seeing how people were failing me. And so, and then on top of that, I happen to have people, family in particular, that actually depend on me. So if something happens to me, it's not like it's the end of the world for them, but they actually do depend on me. And so it's the combination of all those things where I'm just like, I can't just, and again, it may sound silly that I didn't think about it that deeply before, but I think going through that, and
Yeah.
then realizing, oh wow, all the people that you think, all the people pretend to show you love or whatever, like when push comes to shove, when you get into that the situation where you need people, they're nowhere to be found. Like
Yeah.
and,
It's
and
act
so
it's I
yeah,
was gonna
go
say
ahead.
it's actually not silly that
Right.
you say that, because
Yeah.
usually it takes a traumatic time
Hmm.
and thing to happen for people to make these types of decisions. Because, like you just said, you take things for granted, right? So I end up going to physical therapy for my hand, which was one of the most painful things I ever been through. And while I'm there are multiple people specializing on using their fingers again, their hands, and they say this every day I'm there. I would have never thought my one finger would be so important for my everyday use, or my one hand, or my one arm. And so when you get to that point, it's kind of like a wake up. And my wake up was, this arm not working could stop me from being in the field I am in, making good money and not supporting my family. And when you get to that point, man, and it's realistic, then you're like, it's a wake up call.
Yeah.
Yeah, John,
Let
you
me,
are
let me just
so
let me just say something real quick. She stole my thunder. I don't know why you saying you ain't got a family. You know you got a family with us ever since the very beginning. Amazing MG, appreciate you. This is coming all the way from Jamaica. So we have somebody coming in all the way from Jamaica just to come here to hear the live stream. Um, Go ahead, Brown Eyes, because I'll say what I got to say to Jonathan in a minute. Go ahead.
so John, when you were just talking about the hand, the rehab, the hand and whatnot,
Yeah.
I had to have reconstructive surgery on my wrist. Wasn't a motorcycle accident. It was one of those. Actually, it's one of those. Like I guess I would consider it a freak of nature accident. Standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, and we were moving furniture from. And this was way before Uncle Stu, but moving furniture from a U-Haul, and they were taking the dining room table off of the U-Haul, and was glass, and it literally shattered on the dolly. And I happened to be standing beside it, beside the truck, when it just rained glass. Happened to have on a hat, and then a big shard of glass slid through my jacket. Um, Almost lost my entire left hand if it hadn't been for the bone. So I had to go through the reconstructive surgery. I think like 17 stitches inside, 16 stitches outside, no use of the hand for a year. Rebuild use of the hand. Still have permanent nerve damage.
Yep.
Um, had to take care of kids. My youngest was 4 months old, and I'm left handed, and it was the
Four
left hand.
months.
Yeah,
Oh, and you're left-handed. It was your left hand.
yeah, it was my left hand, and I'm left-handed,
That might be the worst of it.
and a 4-month-old and a 5-year-old at the time.
Right, right.
So I can completely relate to that, and not having to use to just think about the things that you need to do, that you can't do. Are you going to still be able to do? Can I go
Yep.
back, to my profession? So the surgeon was like, okay, either he said you have two choices, because I was a cosmetologist at the time. So he said you can be a cosmetologist and maybe work for the next 5 years, and then have permanent arthritis in your hand, or you can quit today, rebuild, and have a 90% chance of complete use of the hand. So I gave up that profession.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
Ended up getting a degree in technology, but you don't realize what you miss when you don't have use of a limb,
Oh
and
yeah.
then the possibility of not having use of that limb is jarring and eye opening, and having to learn how to use it again. So motorcycle
Yep.
accidents, and even though mine wasn't a motorcycle accident, I can relate to the trauma that it causes you. And Jonathan, this is my mother voice talking. You be careful.
Yeah.
But I'll
Yeah,
say
yo,
this to
that
you,
that that
John.
was.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Um,
No,
you
go
know,
ahead, Uncle Stu. I'm
I'll
listening.
say this to you. This is what we call real life lessons
Yep.
that you can't read in a book. You don't know who love you until it's all gone, and then I was once told this in more philosophy. Your real friends step in when all the bad ones step out. And it's sad, but it's very true. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You don't know the real people you touch versus the people that's acting like they're being touched, because the genuineness of somebody who really cares about you, they don't care about your title, what's in your bank account, the material. They care generally about you, but it's hard for you to see that when you're surrounded by everybody else. And I've learned that in life too. People you thought, hey, this is my buddy. This is the one that's going to ride and die for me. This is the one that's going to rock with me. And as soon as you're at your worst of your worst, it's like, well, where they at? And then it's so ironic because the people that'll show up and show out, it's like, I didn't know I touched your life. I didn't know I did this for you. I, and they show up.
Yeah.
No, it's so funny
That's
because
that's that's
you hear brown eyes cheer up hearing from YouTubers, but then be so depressed when our own coworkers is talking. So it's like, well, how in the world is that? Well, I got to talk to so and so, and it's like, it's like I was telling you in the back room, John. It was like talking to stars, because I could sit up there all day and say, oh yeah, I was on talking tech show today, and this is what we talked about. Okay, so she know you by name. She might, she looks at us every day and see us, but to hear the voice, you know, and someone saying, well, no, I don't want to talk to Uncle Stu. I want to talk to you, and I want to communicate with you, and I want to make sure you're okay. And you know, um,
you, you
we
know
got
you,
a
you
chance
know you
to
know
really meet, you know, uh, blind guy, his wife, their life, and intentional millionaire. And it was like, these are real people that really care. And like I said, when she got to hear from Jonathan, that was it. She just, it was like, we got to go to Georgia. We got to go. And but it was really the healing. You
Right.
know, my daughter is in the chat, and I can't really relate to the actual loss of a child. My daughter almost passed away 4 times. The closest to that pain was watching her where it was just nothing but a machine keeping her alive. But I can't relate because I can pick up the cell phone right now and hear her voice. You know what I mean? She's in the chat where um, Dorian isn't here, and I still had to make content. So it was like, okay, how do you make content in the midst of all of this and still try to, so it's like, what in the world? So when I did that video, I'm honoring the entire family. And it's like, everybody don't understand the dual side of that.
Yeah. You're
You
you're
know,
honoring, but you're also healing too, in a way.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
what's interesting, Uncle Stu?
Yes.
Um, so this is actually one of the reasons why, one of the reasons why, like even on YouTube, right? Like I mean, you'll notice how I try to support so many people, right? So many creators and whatnot.
Right.
And one of the things I've noticed is kind of like what you alluded to earlier is, um, when I talk about like seeing the people who really showed up for me, at the time of my accident, like I had a girl, and I got to shout her out for this, even though, she's my ex now, but I got to shout out for this because, she was working and whatnot, and she took some time off as much as she could from her job to help me out. And then when she couldn't take time off, she would, get off work and, what I'm saying, and try to come look out for me. What I
Right.
found interesting is during the times when she couldn't be there and I just needed somebody, some assistance, you know what I'm saying? Um, and I'm realizing like, damn, like, my one of my neighbors, for example, like the moment he found out that I had been in the accident, he called me immediately, and then on top of that, like he cooked for me, and he cooked for me based on like I'm vegan, right? And I don't I guess I maybe told him that in passing one day, and like he made sure that my food was vegan. You know what I'm saying? Like he did all that for me, right? Now here's the flip side of this. I have an actual cousin, okay, my actual like blood cousin, okay, who knew I was in an accident, and didn't even reply to my text message. And then he finally sent me a text message at the end of last month. And you know what his text message was about? He was trying to see if I can connect him to somebody for a business situation. And I was looking at that
Wow.
like, wow. Like
Wow.
I was looking at that like that is amazing. Like to me, I was just looking at his text message like the gall, the audacity, right? That when I was sitting here, like I really actually desperately needed somebody, you know,
yep.
and I'm rarely the type. I'm very comfortable being alone, right? Like, and so so for me that was a very vulnerable moment for me where I felt like damn, it would be very helpful right now to have somebody, right? And in that moment, you're my own family, and you ignored me for months, and I finally hear back from you, and you're trying to get something out of me, right? Meanwhile, there are a few people like that I was connected with in YouTube or in the YouTube world, for example, who reached out, even though they weren't physically in the same state, but they were trying to see how can I help, whatever, right? And these are strangers to me, right? And so for me, that's one of the reasons I'm realizing, like, there's this always people always talk about, your day ones and this and that, and I'm realizing like a lot of times it'll be the people that you consider a stranger or my neighbor, who, as much as I have great relationships with my neighbors, like my neighbor didn't have to go, and basically make vegan food for me. Like he didn't have to do all that, right? But he did that. I didn't ask him to do that. I don't think he just guessed that maybe I'm gonna have trouble, cooking, and he basically did all of that and then brought the food over to me and made sure, and it's like your own family will ignore you for months and then try to get something out of you, right?
Yep.
And I think for me, like that alone is such a big life lesson for me. I can't even explain how much of a life lesson for me that is.
Yeah, it's funny because um I don't know if you ever got this, John, but somebody came in my chat in my comment section and they went after Melissa Barron, because me and her likes another YouTuber, which is, Anton Daniels. And they went after her, but it was like you going after her is like going after me, and I went ballistic. I went ballistic and got rid of it out of my, but then I had to get on my live and I went ballistic. And, it was like, she's my sister, now her husband is a veteran. So it's like, hey, you're going after family.
Yeah.
You don't, if you don't like somebody, that's your business, but you don't come over here attacking my family. You know what I'm saying? And it
Yeah.
was
But
just that connection. Like, no, you don't do that.
No, you're not supposed to do it, but
Right.
I'm going to say get used to it, because when you start talking about certain topics, then people are going to have opinions, which you want them to have opinions. And I've gone over streams about stream etiquette, and but when people are passionate about certain subjects, they're going to give their own opinions, and unfortunately, it causes a rise in certain people. The best thing you could do, Stu, is to tell them don't get super aggravated and mad. Just tell them this is not the place for us to discuss it on this level right now. And
Right.
then if you got to kick them out, you kick them out, and that's it.
Right.
Because you don't want to shut down people that have opinions that are different. But you also, I've talked about people that come into your stream who don't add to your stream and that are just looking to find subscribers. And you'll always see that type of agenda on some people.
Okay.
That's a whole different story. And it's part of it is part of live streaming to begin with.
Okay.
But you also want people to, the kind of people you want, your tribe is going to contribute to your stream and make it better.
Yeah, I mean, I never have a problem with like differences of opinions because in certain topics, I kind of welcome that because you don't want to just. For me, I've always said I never wanted my platform to be like this single narrative.
Right.
Because then you're stagnant.
Yes.
You just, hey, we all the same. We all talk the same. It's like, no, I want the different type of conversation because then everybody got, it's like coming from different perspectives. You get to
Yeah.
hear different backstories. And it's like, even certain things you begin to like reflect, like, I didn't think about that, or I didn't see it from that angle. And it just, it's just a wow factor.
And I agree 100% with that.
Yeah,
And
John, meet my oldest daughter, my firstborn, Tiana.
Hello, hello.
Miss Danielle, meet my oldest child, my firstborn. Her mother used to say that the reason we couldn't get along early because we both are stubborn, but we're stubborn for good reasons.
Hello, and nice to meet you.
Hello. This was a good. Y'all did good. Y'all did great. I can relate to the whole issue of, you was in your accident and it caused you, damage. I can relate. I wasn't I had been in a car accident, but I was on life support, and it caused me to lose full use of my right hand, which I've been predominantly right-handed all my life. So I can definitely relate. It was, for me, it was depressing because when you're used to doing for yourself all the time, you then become dependent, and that's not something you want to do, by choice. So I can definitely relate. I still have issues. They told me I would never regain full use of my right hand, but I don't let that determine,
who you
what
are.
I can and cannot do and who I am.
Right.
And so, I could definitely relate to what you were saying.
So you can sit there and ponder and be fixated on the negatives, or you can just find workarounds and get to the best possible place you can. Now, being a competitive athlete at some level where I was, it's always about trying to come back to my best ability. So when people look at me, or if I'm walking or I'm at work, they can't see the injury or the pain or the things that are affecting me in any way, but it comes up, and the older I get, it has its effects. But I am working towards all the time of trying to get healthier too at some levels, and I know
Exactly.
Stu's doing the same thing. And so we're all, especially as you get into your 50s, you got to really just hone in on some of these things. And, it's easy for your weight to get out of control. And then you start stressing about that, and depression creeps in on certain people. And this is where you lose people, and they lose years of productivity out of their life. And
Right.
it's hard when you don't have any. Jonathan was saying before, and I'm going to tell you, this is this is about as honest as it gets. Is I've been at the point where my pinky finger was pinned back together, 2.5 hour surgery on this hand, and then a 4.5 hour surgery to add the bone and the pins into this hand and this arm, and then you got to have your wife wipe your butt for at least a week. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, it
Yes.
doesn't get any more humiliating, and it doesn't get any more frustrating than that, the reality of that.
Yeah, and I think that some people who have never experienced such a thing don't understand that aspect, and that why it would cause you to feel a way. Um because when I came off life support, and I've been on life support 4 times, every time that I came off, I was considered paraplegic. Only thing I could move was my head. So I had to fully depend on people to do everything. And so that can cause one mind to really shatter, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
But you can't let it define you.
Mm-mm.
You have to um you have to get yourself together, and pull it together, and not let it define you or your
Right.
life.
And it's important to have a support system, right? Everybody's been talking about, finding their support system and realizing who their support system truly is. And I
Yeah.
think, that's really important to surround yourself, because when you're dealing with, these events where, you're
Change of life.
questioning, yeah,
Yeah.
life, and you're questioning, am
Life
I going to
changing.
have full use of this? Am I going to be able to support my family? It's a tragic event, and it can be, it's life changing. And so
Yep.
having a good support system is really important to support your mental and your emotional health through the whole thing.
Yep.
um and also, having the fortitude to now reinvent yourself, right? Because,
Right.
Brown Eyes, when you had said that you had that reconstructive surgery, you had to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, she went
You
back to
could,
school,
right, exactly. And Tiana, you also said, you reinvented yourself as well. And
but
you're
yeah,
not
there's
letting,
struggles.
yeah, and you're not letting that get you down.
I mean,
And
So
in fact, Jonathan too, after you had the car accident, it really made you
see who your
think
true
and
friends are.
who your true friends
It
are.
does. It does.
And
oh, that
yeah,
accident did so much for me. I mean,
yeah,
so much. Yeah.
it almost opened your eyes, and you were thinking, I can't believe I didn't think about it then. But no, when we have these events that kind of just like they make you stop and pause,
Yeah.
right? Because we know these things can happen, but then they do. And then we're like, wait a second, let me put the brakes on, and let me just pause a little bit, and kind of collect my thoughts, and see where I'm going. So um, we all deal with different things in life, that life is always throwing curveballs, and so it's really important that we have positive coping mechanisms. We have that support system, and we know where to reach out for help if we need it. Just so we're, it's important in life that we're not just surviving, right, but we're thriving.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so,
big difference. Big
yeah.
difference.
Let me throw, because this y'all on a nice subject. So I'm gonna play the advocate. I'm gonna play the ignorant person. How do we teach somebody finding that
Yeah.
that support system? And the reason I say that is because sometimes we're choosing people that we think really got us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they was her. We on the mountain together,
Yeah.
and it's still, it's when, hand isn't working for my daughter, in the coma, for Jonathan. the car accident. For me, it was a mental health issue, and that's when it was like, well,
Yep.
where the heck is everybody that I thought was for me,
Yeah.
and they
Right.
disappeared? You know what I mean? Like,
So
That is tough, and you know what? I teach. I'm a middle school teacher, right? And
okay,
so one of my content areas is health, and so one of the things that we discuss is mental and emotional health. I think it's super important, especially I teach seventh graders mental and emotional health. I think it's super important for them to and understand how to cope positively when life gives you stress or anxiety creeps up or depression creeps up, because we all deal with these things at some point in our life. Where to reach out for help. It's okay to reach out for help, and I think that's the biggest thing. Saying, I need help right now. And so sometimes it's talking to family or talking
yeah,
to friends or going to see a therapist.
letting them know that asking for help is okay, because that's the
Well,
thing.
that's just
Oh,
a thing, and so at the end of and I tell them at the end of the day, I want to destigmatize this whole mental and
right,
emotional
Right.
health topic, because
exactly,
I word it in a way, like if there was something wrong with some kind of internal organ, you had something wrong with your stomach, you'd go see a
right,
doctor, right? Well, the same thing, if you're struggling, your brain is
Mhm.
an organ, you wouldn't think twice about going to see a doctor if there was something going on with your digestion.
right,
Same thing with your brain. And I think mental and emotional health, there's still a stigma surrounds it, but that just increases the chance of isolation and just because they're afraid of that
right.
judgment.
They
Right.
also,
And
Yeah,
I do staff development. I'm a staff development coordinator.
Mhm.
So I've been really big on work life balance,
Mhm.
emotional intelligence. Um, um, I can't think. I can't. Words just escape me. But I think it's like what you said, Danielle. It's very important for people to realize it's okay
Mhm.
not
yep,
to be okay. And it's ironic for me to preach that right now, especially with what I'm dealing with.
Right.
And people are probably like, "How is she up here doing this?" Because Uncle Stu can tell you, I had to help my sister write my son's obituary yesterday. I was not okay,
Right.
and I was in the bed the rest of the day yesterday.
yeah,
Today was a better day. We
Mhm.
were out, and I heard someone have. We were out at the bank. We had some things to take care of. I overheard someone's conversation, and they were friends of my son's grandparents, and they were talking about how the grandparents had lost their grandson at such a young age. And I said, "Wait, you're talking about my baby." I allowed what they were saying, which was all positive, to help me.
Mhm.
Perfect strangers. So it's okay to seek help
Mhm.
and the validation from other people. It doesn't
Yeah.
yep,
sometimes I think it might even be a little bit better if it's someone that you don't know, because it takes away that judgmental piece that people are always thinking about, that someone they know is going to judge them.
Mhm.
Whereas if it's someone they don't know,
yeah,
they're not going to have that judgment. And I will be honest and tell you, I know I'm going to need therapy, and I've already said, and I've told Uncle Stu and my sisters and whatnot, that that is something that I'm going to seek once this comes,
Mhm.
you know, but
yeah,
um, it's something that I know that I'm going to need to do for my sanity, to help
Mhm.
me cope, to help me be able to help my
grieve,
my younger son grieve,
yeah,
cope, because he is upset and he's 23 and trying to figure out how to cope with this. And it's okay. I just say that it's okay to not be okay in certain situations.
Mhm.
right,
And it's okay to reach out for help. Doesn't make you any less of a person.
Right.
Um, it doesn't make you a weak person. It doesn't.
Right.
no,
And if someone is willing to listen to you, let them do it. I
Yeah.
have poured out my son's story to YouTubers, to perfect strangers, and they've allowed me to tell his story.
Yeah.
Um, And that's been therapeutic for me. That's why I'm
Absolutely.
not balled up in a corner in the
Yeah.
fact that my child is no longer here. I'm not balled up in a corner because I'm able to celebrate his life. I'm able to celebrate the person that he was. I'm able to talk about it. And but that's my walk. That's my
Hmm.
therapy. Everybody has to look at themselves and realize what's best for them, because what works for one is not always going to work for the next person. So you have to be willing to look within
Right.
yourself to figure those things out. And if you can't do that,
Yep.
you've got to figure out a way to do that. Otherwise, you're going to one day, something's going to trigger you and
Hmm.
you're going to be all the pieces and you're not going to understand why. And I've seen it happen, to people just with the, doing staff development and just things like that. So I'm very big on um that work life balance. I'm very big on what was it that we were talking about the other what was it that we were talking about, Uncle
Mental
Steve?
health,
I can't remember.
Yeah. Mental
Mental
and
health
emotional health.
awareness,
Yeah.
absolutely.
emotional.
Yeah.
um Emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
and just the coping, the mindfulness. That's what it was.
Hmm.
Mindfulness. I am very, very big on
Yes, me
So
too.
mindfulness.
can I
Oh,
add,
go ahead.
can I just want to add, like a different perspective to this, right? Because
Mhm.
I actually agree with most of what you guys are saying, but I think so on the bright side, right? So, well, okay. So, for example, after my accident, the next day, actually, the next day after my accident was probably the worst day for me. Not even the accident itself. I woke up with my neck stuck in one position. Okay, and when I say stuck in one position, like I literally could not turn my neck at all, like at all. Just if I need to turn around, I had to turn the whole upper part of my body, right? And I will not lie on here and tell you guys that I was not, that was the scariest
Scared. Yeah.
Mhm.
feeling
Yeah.
ever.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't even know how to describe how afraid I was because I was just like, my mind was going crazy. Like, oh my God, my neck is stuck. I can't move my neck. Can't move my neck. I thought I was in a dream, whatever. They ended up injecting something in my neck. And relatively quickly, I was able to regain some movement and whatnot. But I say this to say that I think for me, one of the things that my accident actually did for me is it showed me, you know, like I think I already had a certain level of confidence of, let's just say, how strong I am before this. But I mean, I feel a whole other level of strong after that, right? Because um, even when we talk about the family, just people that you thought would support you, they're nowhere to be found. There's two people out there that I could tell you immediately. They were ready to get on a plane immediately when they found out about my accident, and it's my parents, right? My mom and my dad. The moment they found out about my accident, they wanted to get on a plane. We're gonna be there for you. We're gonna, I don't care. My dad was, I don't care about all my obligations, whatever. I'll get on a plane right now.
Right.
And I didn't want them to come, right? And it's one of those things that I struggle with because I'm so used to being on my own. And I also don't want my parents to see me in the state that I was in. I don't want my parents to see me in that state. I know my mom would have, if she actually saw me in the state that I was in, she would be very emotional over it. And I just didn't want my parents to see me like that. And I didn't want, I don't know. There's part of me that was like thinking about, whatever image of me that people have, I don't want it to change. Okay. I don't want it to change into like, this is who he is. And this is, because at that point in time, you gotta realize, at that point in time, in hindsight, it's different, but at that point in time,
Hmm.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I had all this pain in my back. I still hadn't had any results for, the MRI and all this stuff. Like I didn't know if I broke what I broke. You know what I'm saying? Like I was very, and so, um, I think for me, having had to go through that basically on my own, um, I am very thankful that even though my I basically managed to essentially force my parents to not come, which they weren't too happy about. But every single day, I spoke to my parents like multiple times a day, right? And and I mean, I'm talking like the moment my mother woke up, she called me. Like, and it's funny because that's another one of those things, right? That if I'm honest, right, prior to the accident, there are times when my mom would call me so much sometimes that I'll be honest, like I was somewhat annoyed about it. But
It could
I
be.
was so happy to hear her voice every time she called me when I was going through this. Like every single time my mom called
Right.
me, because that was the moment where nobody was actually there. And I was so happy to hear my mom's voice every single time she called me. I just couldn't wait to hit on that green, right? And so I think they did help me to a certain extent just by being there for me, even though they weren't there physically, and that's only because of me, not because of them. But I think having gone through that and seeing, okay, all these people that I thought were there for me, would have been there for me, even like actual family and whatnot, who just suddenly they disappeared, suddenly they're not responding to my calls, suddenly I'm going to voicemail, etc. For me, that actually made me stronger. Like it made me stronger. I'm to a certain point where I don't even think I'm holding a grudge against them. It's just I'll never forget that. I can tell you that much. I'll never forget that. But I feel like it made me stronger to do that. But another point wanted to add on that is when you mentioned work-life balance. I have a slightly different take on this because that's also something else that helped me. So my colleagues at work, and whatnot, like they were very supportive, and they didn't want me to be working. They wanted me to just just take some time to rest. But I didn't want to do that, because I know if I just sit there and then be in my thoughts all day, I know that to me that leads in my life personally, I feel like that leads to destruction, right, mentally and whatnot. So for me, being able to work, was actually very helpful for me, right? Being able to actually work and kind of keep my mind away from all the negative thoughts that I was going through in that moment, especially because, as you guys mentioned earlier, I haven't gone through the experience of having to have somebody, wipe my butt for example, right?
I
But
was gonna say
despite the fact that,
that's all based if you can make it to work. Like if you can't work,
yes,
you can't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
no,
that
I
also
agree. I
touches
agree.
on
And,
what.
and see, and there's
I
a
Yeah.
agree.
difference,
So
Jonathan. I don't mean to cut you off. There's a difference. Now, I will say that in certain situations, then yeah, being able to get up and go to work is the therapy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
me getting up. There was a time where, and we're talking about a couple of years ago, I didn't want to get up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to do anything, but now it's like, hey, I gotta get up, I gotta do this, I gotta put this podcast on, I gotta do this filming, I gotta do this editing. There's a reason and a purpose. So having an accident and saying, hey, I don't want to sit at home and be depressed, I'm going out to work, that really is a work therapy. A lot of times what people do is the job becomes their husband, their wife, it becomes their sanctuary
Yeah, the
because they
imbalance.
got so, yeah. And it becomes imbalanced, where it's like strictly work. They never take a day off. It's work, work,
Yeah.
work. That's when it becomes
Well,
unhealthy. What you did
so
Well,
was
I
very
kind of
healthy.
have to agree with Jonathan a little bit in the
Okay.
sense that I can understand, especially right now. I'm not gonna lie, when they're like, okay, take the time, don't worry about work, don't do this. I have looked at emails, I have looked at
yeah,
our chats, I've posted some things and answered some questions. I've sent some emails, even though I'm supposed to be not. It helps
right.
because like Jonathan said, it is a good way to get your mind
Yeah.
with
Well,
things and to
and,
think of
and
the
right,
things.
and to touch
Yeah,
on what you said before, Brown Eyes too, you were you were saying what works for you to help you
right.
cope is not going to be the same for somebody else. So
that's
what
true.
works for Jonathan, maybe working, as long as that balance is still there, might not work for somebody else, right? But sometimes when we go through these tragic things, we just crave normalcy, and so sometimes
Yeah.
responding to those emails or going to a
Keeps your
work
mind
meeting or
busy.
something.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I've been waiting to say this for a while, is we this is all just really low level, like, I recovered. I got better
Right.
physically, right? First
Right.
of all, there's no way I could have gone to work, even if I wanted to. It was impossible,
Right.
right? So that's out of the question. It's off the shelf. There's no getting better in 2 seconds, and you're laying there and you have no choice. I was in brutal agony with screws drilled through my bones that I've never felt the pain before in my life. Okay, so I always think these things in my heads. I always see these things like no one's coming for you, no one's going to save you, no one's going to pick you up off the ground. And that's how I always want to feel. Like there's a part of me that's really strong and I want to feel that way, right? But it's not always easy. I look at like these people like Stephen Hawking. I always looked and I said that guy, or ALS, and where they basically his mind is 100%, right? And in today's world, they've always discussed that our brain capacity is really only approximately 10% of what its capabilities are, right? So then you take a guy as smart as he was and as physically, the guy couldn't even move, right? But he's a genius. And because he was able to keep that brain activity going and moving, could you imagine that if he didn't have that attitude or that fortitude?
Yeah.
He can't even move his body. So a guy that is using the brain power that he could to keep his brain alive, and we're using the very little of it, right? Because when we talk about just looking at your emails or being around other people, that's like it feels good to us. So we're always looking for something that's going to help us get better. And believe it or not, sometimes it's other people and being around other people and getting your mind off of the same thing all the time. And so that's why I feel keeping a busy mind is really important to your mental health, because when you're stagnant, that's when things creep in. And I think that you don't, like, for me, I just feel like if I am not always learning something new or learning something else, that's when I feel that I allow my smarts to just like roll out, and then things can creep in. And I don't know. Depression is a hard thing to control for a lot of people. And so if you're stuck on your injuries or your recoveries, or it could just be your past, it could be your present. And I know, and we can easily make excuses for everything, but I'm always the person that never wants to go to bed mad at somebody. And I'm always the person that wants to wake up the next morning with a fresh day. Always.
Yeah, and
I
I would
just want to
agree,
touch
John.
on. Oh, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'll just be quick. I agree, John. I think just for some context, because I think you're completely spot on, especially with the aspect of, you can only work if you can actually work, right?
Right.
I think for some context, I'm a software engineer, right? So on my end, I was dealing with the physical therapy was super hard, but I was able to. I was lucky enough to be in a position where, they actually, my colleagues wanted me to not work in the first place, right? So for me, for them, like me even wanting to work was just like, why do you want to work right now, right? And so I was able to essentially create, have some flexibility around that, where, when I wasn't feeling a lot of pain, or when I was able to just kind of power through it, I would power through it and work, because I'll be honest, like I felt completely useless just laying in bed,
Right.
and I felt completely useless, and that's just not me. I'm constantly on the move, right? That's kind of the person I am. And so, you know, just laying in bed and not doing anything and not using my brain, like, to me, just made me feel useless. And so that being able to work and my company based saying, okay, no problem. If you actually want to work, fine, but we'd rather you not, force yourself. So take breaks as you need, whatever. For me, that was very helpful for me.
It's a
That was
blessing.
actually
Yeah.
part of, yeah, exactly. For me, that was actually part of my recovery, where, and also, because I could do that remotely, I didn't have to go physically into the office. It was like, okay, I can do that part remotely, and the things I can't do, then I'll just, push them down the line, right? So that was for me. I think I actually consider that a huge blessing, that, because for some people they can't, right? And for some people, like, they don't have jobs where they could do it remotely, right? So there's a lot of different things to consider there. So I think you're 100% correct on that. But for me personally, that was absolutely a blessing, and I'm so
Yep.
glad that I was able to just work, and and sometimes even, in fact, that's actually how I discovered a lot of YouTubers. Like, sometimes I just listen to people on YouTube, or listen to conversations and whatnot, right?
You
That was
can
actually
learn
very helpful
so
for me as
much.
well. It's just, take. I just didn't want to sit there with nothing on my mind. Exactly. Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't want to sit there with nothing on my mind and just thinking about look, like, all this pain that I'm going through, and the fact that I can't lift my arm like up even 90 degrees. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, like, I didn't want to even think about all that stuff. And I just wanted to find ways to not keep my mind to keep all the negative stuff away from my mind, right?
Yep.
At least as I heal. Yeah.
Therapy was motivation for me. I went there like I was going to win an NFL contract. No, I'm not even kidding you. I'm
Yeah.
right, Danielle.
Yeah, but I want to touch on something.
I
Yeah.
fired my physical therapists. I fired them. I went somewhere instead of driving 20 minutes to my physical therapist. I drove an hour each way, and then I went 3 times a week, and I was going for an NFL contract because I was going to bring back my arm as best as I could because it meant everything to be able to use it to the best level I could. And so I walked out of there every day, sometimes in tears because the pain was so unbearable,
I want to
and
touch
then
on a couple things
yeah. And
before I
then I
go.
came back. I would be like, oh, yeah, you got to go. I came back and I was like, I would tell her, my hand did this. I did 75 pounds because I didn't even have 5 pounds of grip when I started, And then I couldn't even open my hand all the way. I couldn't even I still can't. This is as far as my wrist goes in comparison to this one, It's like, it was like accomplishment every time. But the thing is like, I think the mind is powerful and you having a support system is not always guaranteed. And this is why for me, this is why it's so important for us to instill this into my son, because I want that kid to be confident. I want that kid to know that it's okay to say, I need help. I want him to know that it's okay I say, I love you. And I want him to know where to go to get this help or to be confident in yourself, because when we're not around, I want him to be the man that he could always wish he could have been, And so I pray that I can give him what I didn't have, and that's my goal in life.
So
and still twerk.
And you can still twerk.
Yeah, we're waiting on the video, John.
Listen, he keeps bringing it up. I know he wants to. He keeps bringing up about the dancing. So I just want to touch on a couple things. So, how John had said, keeping the mind busy is super important. And I find that, yes, that's important, but it's really also important. Sometimes that's like a band-aid for people, right? It's just keep busy. And then once it's not busy, I don't know how to deal with these feelings. Right. And that's what Brown Eyes had said also, that they're going to get triggered by something and then they're not going to know how to deal with it. Right. I saw a comment that came up saying, no one's going to save you mentality, which can be good. But, all of these suggestions are good with caution, in my opinion, So
you're right.
Keeping the mind busy is good, but we need to make sure that it's in a positive way. So no one's going to save you is a good mentality as long as it's positive. Sometimes it can turn to like being bitter and resentful instead of being a positive motivator.
Well, I just meant it.
Yeah,
in the
no,
way,
I understand what you're saying. And then also, sometimes you were saying, John, that some people don't have support. But I also want to share, even if you don't have those friends in the family as a support system, there is always support for you. There is always help. If it's not family and friends, your support could be that therapist that you or that counselor that you have found. Even if
I also don't think family and friends are always your best choice. I think a lot of times it's not.
Let me ask you a question, Danielle. Working in the school system, like I worked in the school system, but it was in North Carolina, Guilford County.
Mm-hmm.
How is the school system there when it comes to therapy and mental health, especially at that lower level of the middle school?
So it's a big focus, especially coming back from the pandemic. Really, it's been about 2 years since the kids have been in school in a normal setting. So when I'm looking at my 7th graders, or let's say the 6th graders, they're in middle school. This is brand new for them. The last time they had a completely normal year, completely normal, they were in 3rd grade. 4th grade, they had a half of normal year. So social emotional learning is huge for us. Basically, because this was a traumatic experience. For my son, for our son, he was supported at home when he was learning from home. but not every child had that support. These kids are in middle school. The parents had to work.
Right.
A lot of these children were home learning by themselves, and trying to maneuver Google Classroom and learn online and virtually, and making sure this assignment's handed in. It's more than they're ready developmentally. So it was a traumatic experience, that. And then, a lot of these kids, they were affected by COVID, whether their
Right.
family had it or had loved ones pass away. So really, social emotional learning and mindfulness is huge. And basically just trying to get the students to feel safe, because if they don't feel safe and comfortable, they're not going to learn, right? So we spend a lot of time, one, we have to kind of like, um, get them back into the school environment, and
Mhm.
try to reteach these policies and procedures, and really how to act in school again. And it's just, being a little bit more lenient and a little bit more understanding of where they're coming from, because they're coming back, while they all come from different backgrounds. Now they're coming back with even
Less social
more
skills.
possibility of, mental and emotional concerns,
Yeah.
because of what they went through the pandemic. So social emotional learning is definitely a huge component, in my middle school anyway, as far as helping these kids navigate their new situation is, because it's normal, but it's a new normal. And how are we going to navigate this?
Without putting your, because I know how sensitive teacher's license can be when you kind of talk on a public platform. Without trying to put your license, and if you can't answer it, I definitely understand that. Where do you think we're headed in the sense of these kids in school and coming out of school today? Because I can't phantom it. I mean, this is something no parent can be ready for,
Mhm.
So where do you think we're headed, or what can we even begin to do to prepare for these kids who may not function, let's say, at the level we think they should be functioning because of this?
Well, academically speaking, I know our district, well, through our entire state, they were given assessments, so it kind of assesses them. This is academically speaking,
Right.
where they are, because there was a huge achievement gap, right? And so now we're trying to work to bridge that gap of what they've lost, over those 2 years, and find out where they are, to try to bridge that gap to, get them where they should be. I think it's too early to tell. I mean, we're still
Okay.
early in the year. Um, we're still, plugging along 5 days a week, full capacity. I know my school is working really hard to keep the quarantining. They're not looking to quarantine entire classrooms or the
Right.
entire school. We're trying to keep these kids in school, because that's where they need to be. So I think it's still too early to tell.
Okay.
I think we need to give a little bit more time, because they're
I
really
think
just getting their feet
socially
wet.
they're going to be behind though, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, l- they're a little bit behind now, but I mean, they're kids.
that
Kids,
will that
kids
will they should
adapt.
In other
bounce
words,
back
they
from
can
that, right?
Kids are
kind
very
of develop out of
resilient,
that.
and
Yeah.
they adapt very well
Fast.
to their situation, and what their situation they're just they need a little time to get used to, really, their new
I also think
situation.
it's important for the families at home to support positive feedback instead of enforcing
Well,
any kind
yeah,
of negative,
yeah,
because everything that a kid hears at home reinforces whatever they're hearing. So
yeah.
if it's going to be negative thoughts of, oh, these kids are struggle, everything's a struggle, then the kids, that's all they hear, And so I think it's important that you don't put that upon them.
Yeah, there
Mhm.
has, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I tried to do that, with my son's school, and
Right.
we're a team, right? I'm a parent, they're the teachers, we're a team, because that's the only way this is going to work. As a teacher, that's the only thing I can ask for, is that the parents helping me help their students in the best way we can. And listen, you're going to find that anywhere. Some parents are angry about the whole situation. They're frustrated. Everybody's frustrated,
A
and
lot of frustration.
a lot of frustration. And so sometimes they're sharing their frustrations, in front of their kids, and then that kind of
Oh,
finds its way into the classroom, or into
thank
the
you.
school. But I'm going to be positive. We have to be positive. We're going to get there. We have to get there. The students will acclimate back into social setting, into
Do you think those
society, and hopefully those achievement gaps are going to close. I know.
right now? I know you're speaking from one school district. Do you think we need a kind of a, I'm gonna use the word national call of action, but the national would more likely be those of us that, let's say, isn't working, don't have to work. Because there's a lot of people who hit 50 and they said, "Give me my social security check. I'm not going back to work." Um, should be that call of action of those that have the freedom to go and start volunteering and kind of overloading the school system with saying, "Hey, we're here to help in any way possible," just to talk to these kids and kind of give them the support that they really isn't getting. Because I feel we're in something different today
Hmm.
than when I went to school, than when my daughter went to
Hmm.
school, when my
Sure.
youngest one went to school. This is totally different.
Hmm.
Yep.
And right, it's totally different for kids and adults. So we're
Yeah.
trying to navigate it as adults, and as adults, we have life experience, and we're able to be most adults are able to be rational about this, right?
Right.
And so we can find ways to just reframe this, and lean on each other and get through it.
But
And kids don't may not have
yeah.
that, and they don't, they're more emotional, right? Their emotional brain takes over because they're younger, not their rational brain, because they're middle schoolers and their brain is not fully developed. So when you have that emotional brain working and not that rational brain, um,
Right.
it could be a little bit more challenging.
But
And I
he's
think
also
this
talking.
change.
God.
Oh, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was going to say he's talking about what people can do to give back, but you have to have qualified people coming into the
Yes.
schools. They can't
Yeah.
just take anybody.
Yeah.
So that could be a lot of qualifications, especially in some states, to be able to support that.
We
Where
do need
really,
substitutes. That's widespread. We're lack of substitutes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
what we really need to improve upon is the people at home. The family basis needs to improve,
Mhm.
and we know how much that's been lacking. And then you compound that with the stress of people. I mean, people were outraged, right? And understandably, it was like, I need to go back to work. The schools
Yeah.
have to open because I won't even be able to keep my house. And so
Right.
it's
Right. Right.
alarming, right?
Yeah.
So that stress can't be hidden practically in your whole family.
Right.
And so that reverberates right down to everybody, and it's a hard thing to overcome. And so now that the kids are going to school, and still once again they're lacking the majority of these kids having both parents active in their lives and supporting the way that a parent should, because parents don't parent the way they should probably parent the majority of the time.
Okay.
And I,
There's there.
I, I totally agree with that, John. I also think right now we're seeing a huge discrepancy in adults and their and technology and being able to help the kids.
Hmm.
Something, and
Yeah.
I used to work in the school system and in technology. So I know what that's like. And now I work in a public setting with adult learning and things like that. And the amount of adults that don't understand
Oh, they struggle
technology
with it.
Hmm.
and yes, and the struggle with it, even with something really simple that we may,
Right.
excuse me, that you or I may think is really simple,
Yep.
to them it's not. So then they don't understand the technology, and like you were saying, the kids are hearing the struggle, the struggle, the struggle, and they're also hearing that about technology.
Yeah.
And whereas kids now are growing up with technology, they're kind of pushing back with the technology because their parents or whomever the caregiver or the guardian is in the home can't help them with it. and that makes it that much worse.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There were
For the
parts in
kids.
this country that didn't even have the internet. Like
Oh, I work in a city where the internet um, availability is sparse in certain parts of the city where I work. I work in a different city than I live, and the disparity is huge. I mean, I feel like I'm at home. I'm in a metropolitan. When I go to work, I'm in a country. I
third
mean,
world country. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just the differences to the point where I know the library system has Wi-Fi that you can check out. They have free Wi-Fi
Right.
kits that you can check out from the library, and that has been helping families in that particular city as far as the internet, having access to the internet.
Access,
But
right.
Hmm.
unfortunately, it's the access, yes, but it's not the use of,
Right.
which
Hmm.
is something that's even harder to do because you can't get people in buildings to show them how to use technology now, which means you really can't put something online, a tutorial or a video or something online, because if you can't figure out how to get to YouTube, if you can't
Yep.
figure out how to get to an email, putting those things up there aren't going to help them.
Hmm.
And they don't want to ask the kids for help because then it shows their lack of understanding. So it's hard, right now for the kids and
Hmm.
the adults.
Absolutely.
The adults have become the learners just as much as the kids have. And I see that with in my work, I see that the adults have become just as much as of the learner as the kids have, if not more so, because they are definitely playing catch up to the kids. And it's unfortunate that they don't, because they're at home, they're not having somebody that could possibly help them in a lot of cases,
Not
especially in those rural areas.
yeah, Roy. Not a
And
coffee talking text house though.
yeah,
Right. And
and
not here
But
either, but
see,
yeah.
and you know what makes me laugh is because just hearing what Brown Eyes said, then everybody want to sit around and scratch their heads. Well, me and John, we ain't got no hair, but it's scratching their heads where it don't is going. Well, how did the state turn red? And it's like, duh. You sat up there on the campaign trail and you told the parents to be quiet about the education, and that's what they're frustrated about. Because you're not getting straight answers about anything. You're debating about an infrastructure bill, and some of this stuff was should have already been taken care of. I can't understand how we
I
don't
don't
have
want to. I don't want to
internet.
go blue or red on any topic, but
Yeah,
I am anyone that lives in this country should be disgusted of many more things than just the education system. It can go right down
yeah,
the line where we're talking about health, we're talking about health benefits, we talk about education, we talk
yeah,
about the food that they allow us to eat and what they put in our gas. Okay, the corn oil that goes into our gas
yeah. It
destroys our
makes sense.
engines, that costs us money.
Right.
That they subsidize for farmers to grow corn, and it's all just payouts and handouts and earmarks and lobbying that should be banned. I mean,
Yeah,
we can go on
yeah,
and it works both
yeah,
sides, and money rules the roost. Meanwhile, the average people who work hard are struggling.
yeah.
It's very very it shouldn't be like
Frustrating.
that. Opportunities are here and they're great, right? And we could talk about that. I know I've been on other channels here, and people don't know this, but I'm pretty versed at finance and I'm pretty versed at cryptocurrency, and I was able to do pretty darn well when a lot of people were struggling these last couple of years,
Right.
and very fortunate to trust myself to teach myself these things. But the thing is, more billionaires were made in this country in the last 18 months than ever in history. Just
Right.
know that.
Right. Well, Jonathan Barron is we had another live, and matter of fact, Perry Unlikely.
Oh yeah, I was watching. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they had an awesome, awesome conversation dealing with that. So,
Yep.
yeah. And I admit I'm behind a curveball when it comes to crypto. So I have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
I
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
so I did have a because I have to hop off. So I
Okay.
did have another question for you, John, before I
Sure.
hop off because you were talking about the equipment and just the yeah, so the equipment. Um so I've been kind of toying with the because a number of people in the space have been telling me, Jonathan, you should start a YouTube channel. To I don't know, teach different things, whether it's on engineering or even crypto or do interviews with the people I support, whatever. And so
Right.
I've been toying with that idea. But even if I don't actually create a channel, I do want to have a professional setup to, like, let's say in this moment here, cam up in a more professional,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in a more professional setup as if I actually had a channel, if that makes sense, right? So
Yes.
I still want to invest in that. So I decided to to go ahead and at least do that and at least set up the environment. So I was curious, you know, if I decide to, put some money into this and actually, here's some of the things I want, right? So I want to have like a decent camera. Doesn't have to be the best of the best camera, but
Right.
I don't want like, to look, I don't want it to look like I'm streaming from a potato. Um, I I want really good audio.
Yeah.
That's actually very important to me. Is the sound has to be good. And in terms of the environment, like I love when I see people. In fact, I think yeah. So you have that right now. I was looking at the screen. So you have like the lighting that you have in the background, like the colored lighting. I really love that. I love that. I've noticed several content creators have it where they can switch the lights in different colors and all that. So if I
Yep.
decide to support some money into all of that, um, from your perspective with the requirements I just stated, and I actually have a room, a spare room that I've actually emptied just to actually do all of that and to set that all of that in there, right? So, what do you think I would be looking at in terms of a budget? Um, yeah, and then what do you have some recommendations for me? And I could
Yeah.
possibly email you, by the way, if you don't want to go on and
So
on about this here.
Jonathan
And just
needs to
as a
go to
quick, just
coffee
one quick
talk
side note.
and tech.
Okay, okay.
No, 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 no.
Well,
What I'm saying, this is everything that my channel is about at every level, from starting to even a higher end mid range, right? This is
Mhm.
everything that I touch upon, and we talk about so many different things about it. But what was the last thing you were going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, so Simsia, he actually had recommended a camera to me that I actually just off of his recommendation, I ended up just ordering it. So I have the camera, like it's a Sony Alpha ZV E10 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, that's the one I'm
Um,
using right now.
oh, okay. Well, that sounds good then. So because he sent it to me, he sent me the link, and I just ordered it. It cost me I think like a 800 or somewhere like around that. I
Yeah, I
think
got
eight
it
hundred
at
dollars.
B and
But
H.
okay, so I bought that, and it's just sitting there in the box till this moment. Wait, did I miss a joke? I think I missed a joke.
Yeah, you
No,
you missed it. I'm trying to sneak a camera in my house, JB.
Oh, okay, okay.
Stu's a city guy, so we go to B and H, and I that's where I got the camera too, in the city at B and H. But
you don't
And
need
then
any more
I'm coming
cameras, Stu.
after John and
Yes,
Jonathan.
ma'am.
When that camera gets stuck in the house, I'm coming after John and Jonathan.
well,
I will open
first,
the door for you, Brown Eyes. You
Thank
can
you.
come right
Just so
in.
you know, I'm coming after both of the
right.
J's.
So this is not always just an easy thing to talk about, because along with getting a camera like you also have to learn how to use it. And so when I say learn how to use it, you have things like ISO, you have white balancing, you have autofocus settings. Like there's a lot to learn, which is totally okay to learn if you're into it. But you're going to have to take the time and watch some YouTube videos, talk to people that are using this equipment. You want to have this kind of look. The kit lens is not what you're going to get with this look with that lens. Now, granted, we're only at 720p, but if you look at like some of my videos, you'll see that it almost looks like 4K, but I'm always using 1080p. and the lens is the 16 millimeter Sigma 1.4. And that lens tied in with that camera will give you a fantastic look. And so, A, you got the camera. B, to sound as good as a higher end, YouTuber, you need an audio interface and you need an XLR mic. Or if you're okay with getting a USB mic, you might want to look into the Wavelink system by Elgato, and it allows you to do a lot of things like play sound effects, and I can change how my sound effects are right on the screen. So I have sliders here that connect to a soundboard on my Stream Deck, and so I can hit these and play different sound effects, and I can have it like that high, or I can have it that low just by sliding it right here. And I have the ability to change my audio on videos. I have Epidemic Sound hooked up so I can have my music controlled here too. And then this is my Stream Deck. And this is another audio interface, and this is another one. So I actually had two on my desks right here. This is an audio interface all the way over here. So there's a lot going on, but these types of things, it takes time to learn them all and make it come together. And audio is going to be more important than even your video. I mean, you could basically, if you go to my live stream from not this past Thursday before, or a Sunday, actually it was 2 Sundays ago, I showed using my phone, which is an S8, which is so old, right? I was using my phone as video, and then I was using this mic, and it is unbelievable what you can put up with when you're having decent, audio, and you can watch this video. Meanwhile, if I went to this phone's audio, it sounds horrible and the echo starts becoming distracting. I always get compliments on my audio, and it's more important because in the long run, being a successful streamer, especially, and a YouTuber, when people can sit there and listen to your audio and you just look even decent, they're going to hang around more. They're going to hang in your stream more, because it becomes a very fatiguing on ears when you're doing a lot of streaming. So,
Hold on, John.
Okay. So
Here, Brown Eyes. Hold on. Brown Eyes. Look who came to see you.
I
shout
am
out to
not
Auntie
the only
TJ.
person in this on this panel, so stop it.
Shout out to Auntie TJ.
That's right. Hey, TJ, welcome. Salute. TJ, if you want to come up, you will be the only one that'll be able to come up. So please let me know if you want to come up. Just give me a one in the chat and I'll drop the link for you.
So,
So
John, I have a.
here,
Oh, go ahead,
oh,
go
I
ahead,
was,
go ahead,
just
go
yeah,
ahead.
just the last thing I was gonna ask John on this topic, and then that's it. I promise. So, um, the other thing, John, is because I think you made an excellent point, by the way, earlier when you mentioned, when somebody says something is the best, if you
right,
should use the real question is best for what? Because
right.
I have the same feelings when it comes to like, software engineering,
Mhm.
right? Like
Uh-huh.
people talk
Yep.
about programming languages and software frameworks, and it's just like this one's the best, this one's the best, and it's like no, it just depends on what you're building. But anyway, one of the things that I also want to test the waters on. Okay, now there's something I'm not sure yet, because so it's vlogging. Okay, because I'll be honest, like I find most vlogging to me it comes across as very obnoxious. Okay, now it comes across to me that way, but I want to test the waters with it, especially so I'm gonna be in the Bahamas and Dominican Republic over the next couple of weeks,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so I was thinking, it would be pretty dope for me to, maybe try to share some of those experiences and some of
Okay.
what I do when I go to the Bahamas and stuff like that,
First,
with
that's a,
people.
a
And
great
oh, go
question.
ahead, go ahead.
That's a great
Yes.
question. And I wanted to ask you really quick was, what do you find obnoxious about it? Is it the shaky movement that just makes you want to throw up?
It's okay. Again, I'm just being honest here. It's not anyone in particular. It's all
Okay.
vlogging for me.
Go
But
ahead.
what I
Hold,
find a
hold
lot
on,
of times
Jonathan.
is a
Hold
lot
on,
of
Jonathan.
vloggers.
Hold that thought. TJ, I dropped the link just for you. So that link, TJ, is just for you. Okay, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, what I find a lot of times when I watch vloggers is I don't know, it's the idea that, like everyone wants to know everything that's going on in your life and stuff like that. Like I don't know something
Oh,
about that
okay.
to me.
I
So
got you.
yeah. So for me, like there might be moments where I might be like, something like being in the Bahamas. I might be like, okay, for people who haven't been there, let me kind of show them the experiences I have when I go to the Bahamas, right?
So
But I don't want to just wake up every morning and say, here's what I do in the morning, and then vlog again when I'm eating lunch, and then vlog
yeah,
again. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So for me, I don't know if there's a difference here, and I'm probably a hypocrite for even wanting to test it out while saying these things. But I do you get what I'm going from?
Yeah, I read you 100%. So I have a little setup here that I have that is, and actually this is a GoPro 7 Black, and the 7 Black has that great stabilization in it. So you can get one of these for $250. If you got some deep pockets, go for the GoPro 10. Don't get the 9. Go right for the 10.
Stu, you
And
don't need that.
and
I already got it,
he's
It's too
got
Danielle.
it.
late.
Oh,
It's
Danielle,
too late.
Danielle,
It's too
it's
late.
too late.
So
I
I
got it.
actually,
I got
so
the
I actually
GoPro
already
10. I'm in there. I'm gonna go shoot a video tomorrow with my GoPro 10, and I'm gonna give credit. I got it, John.
And
I got the GoPro 10, dude.
You see why
it,
I'm coming after
it's
the
good.
J's?
Go ahead.
so
one
John,
on one.
I
Jonathan was going to
actually
say what?
so I actually already have just from riding my motorcycle. Actually, I
Yep.
already have a GoPro. In fact, I have like two of them. I have a GoPro 6, GoPro Hero 6, I think it was, is the one I have.
Okay.
And so is that
No
basically
good.
okay, no good.
The
Okay,
six,
so you said
the
GoPro 10.
The 7 Black is the first one to come with this outstanding stabilization. And so that is the least one that you should get. And there's nothing wrong with getting this one. So if, like I said, if you don't have the deeper pockets, go for the GoPro 7 Black for $250 brand new, or you got Black Friday coming right around the corner.
Hmm.
You got probably an opportunity to pick up a somewhat cheaper GoPro 10. The thing is with the GoPro 10, there's goods and bads between both of them. But I'm just telling you right now, you will be very happy with the outcome of the 7 Black. But the 10 has that front screen nowadays that you can see yourself. It's not needed, but it makes it nicer for some people. But either way, you'll be so surprised nowadays if you go from at least the 7 or a 10. Don't choose in between. You will be very happy with the image, and also the stabilization makes it so much fun when you go on vacation and you're vlogging, and it's not so like you're on a ship going up and down. It's going to be really nice.
What about audio? What about for audio?
So for audio, what I do is I take this little $40 mic. It's called a Movo micro mic, right? And I plug this in with a media mod that goes to the 7, and there's a media mod that goes on the 10. It's a different setup, but you put one of these mics on here and you walk around with this, it sounds outstanding in comparison of the audio that comes out of just the camera.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
I
Thank you
know
so
we
much,
got
John. I
into
appreciate it. That
Amazon
that
by
that is all.
tomorrow.
All right, Jonathan and Danielle, if you got to
Yeah.
go, then go.
Yeah. Well, I wanted you guys to finish. Yeah.
Hey,
So
Jonathan,
yeah.
Best Buy has a great bundle on the 10.
They do,
Awesome. Thank
Jonathan.
you. Thank you. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I'll check it out tonight, actually. Thank you, John.
Yeah, you
Thank you,
got it.
Danielle, for coming up. I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna hop off. And John, I already subscribed to your channel, so I'll be
Thank you
checking out
so
some of
much.
your
I
stuff.
appreciate
And
that.
shout out to Auntie TJ for coming up.
Hey, what about this auntie?
I,
Who goes to
Brown
Arlington?
eyes. I think he calls you mommy,
Oh.
but TJ is
my
auntie.
my my
Oh, just,
my
Real,
just
real
bad.
quick.
My
saying.
bad. My bad. I did not mean. I didn't mean to start a war. Okay, that
No, no,
was
no,
not
no.
my intention.
No, real quick, Jonathan. I just want to tell you, I shouted you out the other day after hearing the frustrations of the communique and women looking at their phones and what have you out on dates. And I met a young man at the T-Mobile store, his Hispanic young man who said the exact same thing. So I'm like, listen, ladies, put that crap up and be in the moment when you're on a date.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Amen.
Yes, I was. Yeah, it was. It was. It was. I probably ranted a little bit about that, onto TJ, but that for me, that's like that grinds my gears, man. It grinds my gears. You take a young lady out and then she's spending the entire time on her phone. It's just like, to me, it's so disrespectful. But
Your auntie is on
yeah.
the case. Your auntie is on the case. I'm gonna grow these young women for you. I'm on the case, okay?
And JB, go look at Auntie's last two videos. Go learn about some romance. She don't went old school. She don't went so old school. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm trying to keep it G-rated.
So
Uh-oh. Okay.
real quick, I just want to, because I have to run
Okay.
too. But I just want to say thank you so much. It was so wonderful meeting all of you. I had such a great time. We had a great conversation. So I'm so happy my first live stream could be on yours, and I think there's
Thank
going to be more
you.
live streams to come. What do you think, John?
That's
No.
you don't need to ask John. You got three powerful women on this panel. John can't say anything. It's three of them. So he's outnumbered. So I'm gonna protect him. But we
And before I
definitely
go, Uncle Stu, you don't
sure.
need any more microphones. You don't
John,
need any more
You
John,
cameras.
need
didn't we
mic.
teach you
You need more microphones.
before we song? You
He
got
does
to do the
not
chorus
need more
song.
microphones. Did he tell you
John
how
knows
many
better to sing
microphones
that
he
song to me.
has?
Well,
He does
listen,
Well,
not.
Danielle, I wanna just say thank you for coming up here, camming up, and I had a definitely great joy with you up here, and I thank you for giving me your time.
It was a
You
pleasure. Thank you
know,
so much.
and hopefully we could do this when I say next year, because y'all know it's right around the corner,
that's
and we
right.
can we can we can get all these good men with their great wives, and we could try to, as Jonathan Barron would say, get Auntie to say, we gotta grow y'all up some because we don't understand what y'all doing out here.
So John,
So
is that your
But
wife?
that's my wife. Yeah.
You have an amazing name, Danielle. You have an amazing name because that's my daughter's name too.
Oh,
So
thank you.
so so you are, that means God's beloved. You do know that, right?
I do.
And that
I
is,
do.
yes, because thought I was gonna have a boy, and then when they said I was gonna have a girl, I'm like, what am I gonna do with a girl? I said, well, I guess I'll do Danielle then. So that's what we're gonna do.
Well, it was nice to meet all of you. Thank you so much
same here.
for sharing everything that you
What's the
did
matter?
with
You can't
me.
go. You already said bye. Now you're dragging it out.
Yeah, this is what we do, right? At family events, you kiss everybody about 17 times,
This is what we do.
and then you make another round.
Right. I know. Another half hour.
Yeah. All right, I'll go. I'm leaving. Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
All right, bye.
Oh, she's a riot.
I tell you, look, I got a star now. I got two stars. I got brown eyes cammed up. I got TJ. Now the next time you see them two together, they'll be on TJ's channel. They're gonna be sitting back drinking wine and John. John, look, I get punked from the seat because brown eyes got it.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I get punked. See,
You don't have a choice.
yeah, because see, that's that sister code. That's that grown woman sister. I get punked.
You can't fight it.
I can't.
Someone's got speakers on.
What is that?
What is that?
What happened?
Sounds like somebody's speakers.
My road is going good.
You can mute each person, and then it's gone now.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to come on to support. I just got back from the movie again and going about the self care. I took myself and me and a friend went to the movie to see. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Tony Evans, but he had a documentary called Journey with Jesus. So I just went to the movie, just got back, signed on, and saw you all on here. So I just thought I'd come on and say hello, and that's it.
That's all.
I know Tony Evans, Pastor Tony Evans,
That's what I'm talking about.
doctor. Yeah,
Yes.
know him very well. Yes.
So
Yes.
he had a documentary. So it was only showing for 3 nights. So tonight was the last night. So I went to go see it. Just got home and
Cool.
I saw you were on, and I wanted to come and offer my support as you always do for me. And Mr. John, Coffee Talking Tech, I have subscribed to your channel as well. So
Oh, thank you
I'll
so
be
much.
chiming in to find out what I'm not going to buy any new cameras because see, I remember this is a hobby for me, and my husband reminds me of that. So I'm not going to go broke with
Right,
this
right.
hobby.
No, no, absolutely not. But you're looking good anyway. So what camera are you using?
It's funny. I've had this Canon EOS Rebel T3 for about 5 years. And
Okay.
so actually this is the most I've used it since I started YouTubing this May of this year is the most I've used this cameras in the whole 5 years I've had it.
Well, it does its justice. And this is an example, right, of an older camera where typically you don't get the autofocus out of them, but it doesn't really matter if you're just sitting right here because
Mm-hmm.
you're not walking back and forth. So you can keep it in a manual focus and the camera looks way better. And I noticed right away than having like a Logitech 922 or anything like that.
Well, I'll
So,
definitely be combing through your videos to so I can make my stuff a little bit crisper as I
right.
get better with this hobby.
Yeah. Well,
Because I'm retired now, so I get to do what I want to do.
there, that's what it's, and that, hey, and that's where I'm, me being 50 and looking ahead, I'm hopefully having that potential in the next 5 years that I can grow this into a semi side business. And then when I go to retire, I can kind of just fulfill this kind of this fun thing, right? And so there are possibilities of making that happen. And so, and we're all here trying to start at one step and make smart choices. And that's what my channel is all about. And also, if you do subscribe, I will be checking your guys' channels out. So just give me a time and I will come by and check your guys' channels out and subscribe and support you guys too. It's just a lot of times I you know how it is. It's like if 4 or 5, 6 people sign up. One night I did a live stream. I had 68 people subscribe to me. So it was like unbelievable. Yeah, I was doing a live where I was doing a 5-hour stream and it was called My Stream About Nothing. And Melissa Behrens was like, I was so inspired by that stream because the whole point sometimes is we get caught up as creators that we have to have a reason to come up and talk about things. And then what you do notice is if you just bring up one simple little topic with like literally one paragraph, then you start watching the chat and it just becomes its own animal. And you could just feed and you just support that stream and then you can be on there for 5 hours. People just came out of the woodwork for some crazy reason and just pushed me over the 1,000. And because they knew I was striving for it, so they just pushed me. And then I got monetized. That I signed the stuff at 3:30 in the morning and I was monetized by Monday.
Wow. That's
Well,
great.
that's what I want for my Christmas present. I have 830
Yeah,
subscribers.
she's not
So for
that
my
far away. She
so
is
by
not
for my
that
Christmas
far.
present, I'm hoping for 1,000 subscribers. So
All right.
yeah.
That's definitely reasonable.
Yeah.
So TJ will push for that for you for Christmas. Then we're gonna push for that for Uncle Stu for New Year's.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And here's the thing: I got to get my calendar together because I'm gonna have. I want to do my cocktails and conversations on Mondays, and then me and my daughter on Saturday. So I need to, shout out to Melissa Beering because she is her and also Blind Guy, his wife, their life. They are
Yes.
so freaking organized. I mean, talk
Well,
about
we know.
head planning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, dang, I feel so inadequate.
I don't think they stop though. I don't think Corey and Laquita stop ever.
Nope.
I don't think
Nope.
I don't think so either.
Hey,
So
John, I have a question. Actually, I think I have two. First, what cam link would you suggest for the camera? Um, and two, so you're plugging up all this equipment and everything. So do you use a docking station or do you use some sort of like external USB hub? How are you connecting everything together? And then what
Well,
link?
I built a PC, so I have a PC, and everything can run off that. And the funny thing is, you asked about a cam link. I just did a live stream this past week, and you'll see it. It's showing you 4 different types of cam links. So we go anywhere from a switcher, which is an A10 mini, which is actually for four HDMI's in there, and
Right.
then you could plug into this, and then you could switch four different cameras, each camera separately. I'm lucky enough that I have a connection in my computer. It's called a PCI slot. I slide it into my computer. I hook up four cameras to my computer, and I can actually run 4K 30 frames a second, and I can run multiple cameras at the same time. So I have both of these cameras running at the same exact time, and I can have all four cameras running at the same time at 4K. So but this is we all start at something. And the whole reason of my video was me talking about actually I have it right here from the video. I have a cam link that costs $20 that you can buy right on Amazon. Where this particular
Wait, I can't
one,
see the name. I can't see the name. Tell me the
it's
name.
a go. I'm telling you, go to the video of this
Okay.
past week. There's links to all of them, and this is it's going to be a Blue Avis. It's going to be the cheapest one. It's like $20 for this one. It's been solid, and there's like 500 reviews now this past year on these things, and those have been pretty solid. I would, if you're even like, if you want to just step it up to the next level, the Cam Link 4K is the way to go. There's no doubt about it. So the Cam Link 4K is the same thing. It's like a little dongle, and that hooks up to your camera. And these things are on sale right about now for about 113. I would wait 1 week. Like if you're looking for this kind of stuff, this is the stuff I'm talking about where Black Friday comes in and Cyber Monday comes in. You put this on in your cart, and then you start looking at these things and what's on sale and what's not on sale. I'm actually doing a live stream on Black Friday, going and checking prices on things. And so I will be talking about some of the things that are worth looking at, like is lighting. Another lighting setup for desk lighting is Dasny D12 lights that I'm actually using right now in my setup. So these are lights that I have right here. Two of them, they come with a remote control, and they do a hell of a job compared to the Elgato lights that cost $400. I bought these last year on Black Friday for $167 for two. So they come with table mounts, or you can buy them with stands. So I like the table mounts because I use them for streaming.
Okay. And that switcher that you were talking about, does it also connect to like your soundboard? Like so yeah, so does it connect like your soundboard, like the speaker? And
Yes.
is it something that can be used whether it's a PC or a Mac?
Yeah, so Macs are a little bit more difficult with some things where you can't use the particular one that I'm using on my computer, but something like this A10 Mini can be used with a Mac, or it can be used with a PC. And the cheapest version of this
Mm-hmm.
is $300, okay? And this particular thing, it will carry, because it's HDMI. So every time you have an HDMI connection, it carries audio and video together. But this goes up to 1080p 60 frames per second. And if all these numbers don't really make sense to you, I mean, it just ask, because I shoot out these numbers and people like we talk about high resolution is like 1080p, 4K is gonna be like, when we talk 4K, it's the next step, but it's about 3 times as much data. And so when you're talking 4K, you're talking, it takes a lot of room on hard drives. It takes a powerful computer to move this information that much faster. So don't get caught into thinking that you need to have 4K. But I use this, and what you're seeing me run now. We're on StreamYard, but I still stream at 1080p. So that's what I stream at. But this switcher is great when you have multiple cameras. You set the cameras up, it's got big enough buttons, and you could basically just touch these and switch to 2 or 3 different cameras. You can get a fiber optic cable that can go 50 feet away, and you can have someone standing at a camera, and when you switch to them, the audio and the video get picked up at the same time. So you could see how useful this can be for certain scenarios, or maybe over the top for other scenarios, depending on your needs.
Okay.
Because we have like I got a Mac. So now,
Yeah.
because I'm getting ready to start not only doing live streaming, but I'm starting to do podcasts as well. When I do my editing, I'm always doing it on the Mac now because of the to me to upgrade in the editing software. So will we get a cam link to go for both? Because I right now I'm practicing on which one is going to be better when I'm doing
So
live streams. Right now I'm using my Mac, but I'm using the Mac camera, but I'm using the Rode voice.
right.
But he's gonna set the Sony back up.
Right.
So he's gonna be
The
going back
Sony's
to
Okay.
got to get set back up, but I got to get a piece so I can put a cam link to go into the
Right. So what you're
because my
probably
cam link
lacking
goes
is
straight into
port.
my PC.
You're probably lacking ports in your Mac.
yes.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go get yourself a docking station that has HDMI outs, and you're going to have USBs on there, because even if you want to have multiple screens, you're going to have another HDMI connection too. So you're going to have to look for those. And like a Caltech is usually a good name brand docking station, Caltech. And that's another thing. If you have a Mac, you put that on your list. We're talking just a week away or so, and you look for a good deal on Black Friday. This Black Friday could be a struggle just because technology stuff has gone up a lot this year. And so I don't know what we're going to see as far as great deals. And I am going to actually go over a couple things on Thursday in my stream that I'm looking at, which will be some higher end lighting, because I want to step it up to the next level with some stuff. And so I'm going to go into some soft boxes that I'm looking at by their lower end aperture lighting. So the aperture lights, they usually go for like $750 a light. These lower end ones are going for $200, and so I'm putting them in my cart to keep an eye on in this next week. If we get any kind of discount, I'll be cracking on those. But yeah, so this is the time of year you can definitely get some really good deals. And I would recommend anybody reaching out, and don't feel odd about it, because this is how I want to grow my channel at this point.
Right.
Is I'm not looking for charging anybody anything. I've had people meet up with me in StreamYard talks, and we have meetings over things with people. And I'm trying to give as much as I can to myself at this level, because as I grow bigger and bigger, it's going to be inevitable. When I'm at 10 or 20,000 subscribers,
Right.
then you become a commodity to be sought after, and I'm going to have to utilize that. But I want to give to as much people as I can now. And you're going to see that, right? Because as you guys grow, you can give back at a smaller state, but when you get bigger and bigger, you're going to be, you think it's a lot of work now. It's just going to be more work on a different level. And so then you have to, and this is why I think it's so important to go through the proper steps with a YouTube channel, because making these connections with you, other people, and coming together and supporting each other. Because when you're at 10,000, 20,000 subscribers, you don't want to be alone anymore still. You want to be around the people that you were growing with and talking with and supporting. And you also want to take the time to reach back a little bit and put your hand out for some of those people that might be struggling at different times.
Right.
But you're not going to be able to do it as much as you do when you're brand new like we are.
Okay.
I mean, you guys see that, right? And so make these friendships and these relationships now. And that's why I'm not a fan of people stopping in streams and just dropping a hello and 3 minutes in and then they disappear. They're looking for something else. I'm looking for the people that hopefully 5 or 4 years from now, they'll still be around, and they'll be making the progress, and we'll be growing together.
Gotcha. Now, real quickly, because I want to do some other projects kind of offline. How about I can use my GoPro 10 if I want to make more like a educational documentary type videos, versus taking my Sony out there and doing filming, right?
So the Sony is going to give you a more crispy look. There's no doubt about it, right?
Okay.
Because even though something does 4K, you get 4K out of a micro sensor, you
Right.
get 4K out of a crop sensor, and you can
Okay.
get 4K out of a full frame camera. It's not every 4K is not created equal though. So it's kind of a little bit of a misleading thing to say that something does 4K, because the quality definitely won't be the same. The dynamic range, where the depth in the colors won't be the same.
Okay.
And so there's it but we don't want to get caught up on that stuff all the time. What you want to do is, whatever camera you're using, let it be in the best settings for your environment. And learning that is a little bit of a work, involved, of getting your lighting and your colors. And do you want to be ultra wide? Do you want to be standard wide on a GoPro?
Right.
So, and the wider you go, it's great for the backgrounds. But maybe if you're doing something where it's really just about you and being intimate, you don't need to be anything but standard. And this way you'll have less distortion in the overall picture too.
Gotcha.
And so the content is what's important, Stu. So don't get caught up into it. And here's the thing I was discussing earlier. If you're still trying to learn your ZV-1 and it's a little bit of a struggle at this point,
Right.
then keep on learning it. Take the GoPro, keep pushing out the content, and keep on talking the good words. And it doesn't matter, because that's part of the learning curve,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm being truthful, because if you look at my videos just a year ago, they're literally just as bad as anybody else's. And then I get a little better. And I'm no hero with videos. I'm better at retaining information, but it just gets better and better. And then my streaming has just jumped forward tremendously in the last 6 months.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well,
I
John.
have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
So, John, would you say that the Mark II would be a nice early birthday gift?
So a lot of people have heard me talk, and maybe one of the few people that will ever say that the Canon M50 Mark II is something that is to be looked at right now. And the reason is because these Sonys that I have right in front of me, they're showing me the screen, but I can't touch them. I can't change anything, because those screens don't let you change anything. So if I was vlogging with this Sony, I would literally have to still turn around, look at the camera, make adjustments. With the Canon, I could literally vlog with this and make different changes right on the screen. I'm a fan of it. If you're struggling with technology, I think a Canon M50 Mark II it makes it a lot easier for many people. So I will never talk bad about it, but just, I would say go watch some videos, go to my channel, watch the 2 videos that I made about it. And those are the biggest differences about it. And so if you're expecting these things, then just know what that camera could give you. And if you're brand new, there's nothing wrong with that camera. I just want people to have the most information they can. I mean, I'm using it right now. So if that's telling you something, I think highly of it. So
Yeah, I've been eyeing it for a long time. So I was
but
just
just get the
wondering.
Mark II. Get the Mark II. Don't get the original, because it could be like $50 cheaper. But get the Mark II. It's a better camera.
Yeah, it's a good birthday gift, right?
I think, right, Stu?
Brian Ives, you heard that.
I think
So,
it's
everybody got quiet, right?
My what? No, I heard you. I heard you. I heard you.
Yeah, I think you'll be really happy with that camera, because the thing that I love about it is it's also cool to have a viewfinder. And people don't, because some of the new Sonys don't. And so it's nice to have a viewfinder to take real pictures with. And I know some of the younger people, they're not even used to using it, because they take pictures like this, but when we were growing up, we would frame people through the viewfinder. So I know people don't do that much anymore, but.
Okay, well, serious question, serious question. So with the Mark II, would you say that it's not only good for blogging, but also taking pictures?
Photography. Yeah, that's why they call it a hybrid camera. And
Okay.
so it's good for photography, it's good for videos, and its strong point isn't 4K video. so you know that. But the articulating screen on there makes things a lot easier, and the 1080p is beautiful 1080p. And then the other thing is the colors out of that Canon, right out of the camera, look really good, and sometimes a lot better than most cameras out there.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
want to know.
you can't go wrong with it. It's a solid workhorse, and you get the Mark II because if you ever decide to stream, and you may not, that camera is capable of live streaming with no, if ands or buts. And then also it makes the resale value down the road a little bit better by having that camera too.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully next time you
Okay,
see
she
me, I'll
stole
be
my
using
thunder.
my camera. Oh, I'm
She
sorry,
stole
T.
my thunder. Said her birthday is in for several months. Well, mine is on the 11th of December.
Oh, nice. I'm the same week.
Oh,
Okay.
you are.
Yeah.
What day is yours?
I'm not going to say the day on, on the internet.
Oh,
Everybody
okay,
was
okay.
blasting stream then. We'll be
Okay,
at
okay.
2,000 that day.
Let those people make it a little harder to get into my accounts.
Oh my. Okay.
But I just want to thank you, John, and we're definitely. I don't see why we wouldn't ask you and your wife to, come back next year. I mean, it's right around the corner, so it's not like it's like super far away. You know.
I had a great time.
Yes, me too.
And
Me too.
I always, like I said, I'm always looking forward to the ongoing relationships with the people I make on here and the connections. And I appreciate you reaching out to me because, like I kind of was telling you, is that you and then I have Mommy Guide on Saturday is going to be my last streams with other people for the rest of the year. I'm chilling out in December. It's going to
Right.
go fast. The holidays come and
Right.
then we'll be into next year, like you said.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
all right. So I am going to jet out cause I have to get to
Okay.
bed, but I just want to say thank you again. And it was great meeting everybody tonight. And I really appreciate the questions. They were great questions, and I felt like it was kind of cool that I could talk about the tech with you guys too. And it
Yes.
was it was nice getting down to the nitty gritty with other topics that were meaningful too. And also, I just want to again send my love from my family to your family with everything. So
Thank
thanks everybody, and
Thank
Stu,
you.
Thank you.
thank
All
you,
right,
and
big brother.
Stu, come on, man. Put your hand up. Oh, what do we got to go this way?
Yeah,
Thanks, man, and
Oh, that was all
have a
kinds of
great night.
wrong.
look,
I want to go this
look.
way. This way.
I'm still trying to learn
I
how to
know,
do
I
all
know.
of
Which way is which? But I just want to thank everybody, and my mom is still listening in here. So, mom, thanks for listening. And
Mom, I
she stole
want
my
to just
thunder, Blind Eye, and everybody that supported me and came out and watched. I appreciate that. And Stu, thanks for asking me again.
definitely, Mom, I love you. Thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoyed yourself because I surely enjoyed you being here. So you have a blessed and good night.
Bye.
Bye. To the chat, remember, this is Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. Welcome back, and we're going to have a good night. This is the Emancipate Your Mind, and the rest was follow. Brown Eyes, my daughter, we all wish y'all a safe and blessed night. Thank you. We out.